Ooh, right there. That's perfect. Come here. Ready? Easy money on 3. Ready? 1, 2, 3. The camera's clean, Stash. We have to go now.
You are now tuning in to the Relentless Project. Real people, real stories, real life.
Well, bro, welcome back. For those of you who don't know, this is Domenic Porcari, filmmaker, director of Beyond the Lake, which you can find on Prime, Apple TV, YouTube, Google, and Tubi? Or is that still?
No, it's on Tubi. You can,
All
if you're flying to Australia or anywhere via United Arab Emirates or Qatar Airlines, you can watch it there too. It's on
Look
some
at
airplanes.
that.
Yeah.
And if he looks familiar, if you've been following this podcast for a long time, he was episode 32, where we kind of dug into his background, what got him into filmmaking, which is very interesting because you like studied for engineering, like that was your goal.
Yeah.
And here you are making films like the one you saw at the beginning of this video.
It's every parent's dream for their engineer of 18 years to be like, yeah, I think I want to study film now.
Yeah. Yeah. Like it's like, oh man, here's our investment. It's like, boom, movies, which I think is cooler to be able to be on that creative side. Like I would dabble. This is creative.
Sorry, man. I'm so sorry. Are we able to shut that door? My ADHD brain, I know we already started.
No, you're good.
My ADHD brain is like keeps being drawn to that empty space. We can restart if you want, just to keep it. It's
gonna get real hot.
That's okay. It's all right.
What I love about this, we don't do editing, baby.
All right.
Now you know.
I do plenty of
Now
editing.
you know. He's got ADHD brain.
I got ADHD. No, there's DaVinci Resolve where I edit in. They just released a new AI tool that not as it automatically transcripts your videos, but it can automatically cut out like the space between words and cut out ums or ands or pauses. I was like, oh,
that'd be a wealth for me.
Oh yeah, like I spent entire days on projects just like playing trimming out the space between. And I'm like really fast at it. I'm like a hacker in movies. I'm just like I never even touch my mouse when I edit. I just do everything from the keyboard.
Shortcuts and stuff.
Yeah.
See,
I'm a
that's
shortcut fiend.
I guess to streamline the process, you kind of have to get used to that.
Yeah, well, for anybody who does a lot of editing, it's a godsend. I remember when I was working with an editor in film school, and I asked him like, "Here, trim the front off of that." And when I saw him using his mouth, I was like, "Dude, really? Like, you're still using your mouse? Come on."
He'd be judging me hard because this is me. I do Command C.
Yeah.
Cut.
No.
I know
Well,
some of the shortcuts.
Maybe later I'll show you like the top 5 you should know, and it'll save you like an hour a day.
Well, how about this for people? Because we're not the only editor. So who, like, off the top of your head, what are some of what are the top?
Well, the hard part
shortcuts?
is most platforms, like if you're in Premiere, if you're in DaVinci Resolve, if you're in Final Cut, most of them they'll have different names and they'll have different keys. But the biggest ones that you want are going to be your ripple edits. So this is where normally, so say you want to take the front off of a clip. Normally you're either like clicking on the end to where it like highlights red and you're dragging the end over.
Yes.
Or you're like moving your cursor to a part of the clip, you're splitting it there, you're clicking on the front of the clip, you press delete, then you drag the other clip over to like back to the beginning. A ripple edit, which for Premiere is probably going to be Q and W. So Q will trim, Q does the front of the clip, W does the back. In DaVinci Resolve, it's called, I think it's called ripple edit there too. Most programs would be Q and W. But what they do for ripple editing is, like, say this table is your clip. Like, so like for this is your front of the clip. This is the end of the clip. You put your playhead like here. You press Q. It automatically deletes this, automatically moves it over, and that's it. If you want to take the end off it, you just put it to where the clip ends. It will automatically trim the end off the clip, and it will move any clips further in the timeline over automatically so that like everything stays together.
Dude, that is going to help me a lot.
That's definitely the biggest one. There's also, you can make a ripple delete where if you just want to delete a whole clip, like for me, I made it to be shift delete where it'll just take the whole clip out and automatically slide everything back over. So I'm not having to like zoom out, highlight my whole timeline, click and drag everything back over, zoom back in. Yeah, those are big.
Dude, that's genius. When I've cut all the camera angles, like I have to like highlight everything, make sure I've got everything. Because
like, oh no, I zoomed out too far. Now I can't highlight correctly.
Yes.
I got to zoom in. Nope, I'm zoomed in too close now. I can't see the whole timeline.
Dude, it's the small things. It's the small things. Because right now, especially, I'll like put my cursor, cut, delete, highlight everything, drag it over, realize I missed one audio clip. Now Dom's talking while the audio's not going, and I have to go back. That's
the
genius.
other good one to have is nudge. At least for me, it's nudge in DaVinci. It's probably something similar. Oh, okay. So it's nudge in DaVinci, and then in your Adobe Premiere, it'll be like move selected clip 1 frame or 5 frames left to right. So for me, like for comma and period, if I just start tapping period, it will nudge my selected clip 1 frame to the right. So if it's like right up against something, or I want to mess with the timing, I can just like tap, like 1 frame over, 2 frame over, 3 frame over. If I do shift period, it'll do it by 5 frames. So if you're moving clips and you want to be like very precise, nudge is another great one, or, you know, move selected frame over. Those are the big ones. Like, you start doing those two, you'll save like at least 5 minutes on an hour editing session. And those 5 minutes are, I'd say even more than that, actually.
That's another thing I use, because right now I'll zoom in all the way and I'm like, no, go back. Like, so, yeah, see? Look, I'm learning. This is why I love having these conversations, bro.
Yeah.
What other new insights do you bring since the last time you've been here? It's been a while. I mean, 80 minus 32 for the mathematicians. That many episodes later, you're back. I appreciate you
Thanks for having me.
coming, because you're out of the ATL right now, right?
I am down in the South. Yeah, I'm out of Atlanta, over in Stone Mountain, Georgia. Sweet place.
Hey, is that where a lot of your projects are being worked on?
Not a lot of my projects. There's the one that I'm working on right now that's looking like my second major feature. I'm actually shooting in Rutherfordton, North Carolina. It's like out in the middle of nowhere. But basically what was going on was I'd gotten so sick of the like politics and the ego and the narcissism and the falsity and the fakeness and just the surface BS of the film industry, which, I mean, for those of you who maybe don't know, the film industry is not a healthy place. It's like super messed up in a lot of ways.
What?
I know, right?
But the movies are great.
Yeah, how dare they lie to us? It's almost like they lie for a living. And so I just gotten sick of that. I was like, I just want to be a kid making movies in the woods again. Because that's what I did when I was a kid. I'd grab my camera, grab a bunch of friends. I'd go out in the movies and we would just make something cool for its own sake. And now it's like, I'm trying to make money with it. I'm trying to make a living doing it. I'm trying to like balance all these things. I'm trying to evaluate like, what would be good for my career? What's the kind of movie that the world needs to see right now? I was like, you know what? No. I just want to be a kid making movies in the woods and just do it for the love of it again. And so I called some of my oldest collaborators, Josh and Zach Comfort. And I was like, we made movies together when we were like 12 and 11 on the iPod Touch. Yeah, like not the iPhone, the iPod Touch. Like we were making movies on that thing. And the video format doesn't even exist anymore. It was like .m74v, something ridiculous. I was like, hey, now that I'm like a professional filmmaker, now that you guys have all this land and all these guns and ammo and explosives, like, because they're like northern rednecks, they're awesome. I was like, do you want to make?
Who needs special effects when you got that,
dude? When you got like redneck friends, seriously, like that's my advice to any young filmmakers. Yeah, get some good redneck friends. But yeah, like they're northern rednecks. They lived in Pittsburgh. They moved down there. Their dad had just bought this property that was like rough land, but they were clearing it out, like kind of like a frontier house almost. I was like, hey, now that you got all this land and I got all this camera stuff, like, you want to make another movie? And they're like, yeah, like, let's do that. So I drove out to their house with my camera one day. They started showing me around and thinking like, all right, this is not like the prettiest land, but I was just looking for inspiration. Long story short, they showed me, are you familiar with tannerite?
Yeah, I've heard a thing or two.
I'm sure most of your viewers know what tannerite is. So for me, this was the first time that I had seen this, and they're like, yeah, so they wanted to show me some tannerite. So they mixed up a pound of it, they put it on a tree stump. Josh shot it with the rifle, it blew up. And it, like you feel it, you hear it. But I was like, all right, that's cool, but I didn't really see anything. And so like with a camera, especially, you don't have that like physical element of it. So you really have to translate all of the sensation of any kind of effect into visual stimuli. So like, especially you can't feel the shockwave. So the explosion just has to look bigger. So I'm thinking like, all right, how do we make this explosion from the tannerite register on camera? So I started thinking, I was like, all right, Josh, could you put a bullet like through a PVC pipe about that big from like 30 yards? He's like, I don't know, I think so. It's like, okay, I got an idea. So actually, let me tell you what. People haven't seen this yet. Most people haven't seen this, but I brought like a little sneak peek of one of the scenes that we just shot, like just finished editing. I'll pull you that up. I'll show you that, and then we'll go into the behind the scenes. So yeah, if you go to Cletus Death right there. So yeah, just finished editing this recently, and scroll back to the beginning. So the premise in this scene, the premise of the movie, it's called Faceless Land. We're filming it right now. Don't know when it's going to be done, but basically the premise is it's this I call it a pre-apocalyptic America where the government ran out of money, the rule of law is breaking down, like emergency services went away. It's kind of like becoming a free-for-all, and there's like raider gangs and militias popping up all over, and America is kind of like slowly consuming itself. And so this group of raiders who you're seeing here, like these renegades, they kill this guy and they take his land, which we're on right now. They kill him, they take his land, unaware that he has a twin brother. And so when the twin brother shows up for revenge, they think it's the ghost of the guy that they killed, like coming back to haunt them and like take them out from the other world. So it's kind of like Hamlet with guns for any theater people out there. So what's happening right now is Tanner, the guy who is the twin brother. Oh, damn, I just spoiled the whole movie for everybody. Fuck, I just spoiled the twist. You sure you don't do any editing?
I can.
No, it's fine. I mean, it's, a half-educated viewer will guess what's going on. But anyway, so this guy that's definitely not the twin brother, the ghost, he's planted these mines around the forest, and he's blowing like...
I'm so excited, dude. I'm like, gee, I love movies. I love behind the scenes. And I love that you just spoiled it on the Relentless Project. Fuck yeah.
Yes. It'll be like a little
hey, I have like 200 listeners.
No, so. But the cool thing about this one is even if you know the twist, like it's still entertaining as hell, and you're about to see why. So anyway, the guy who they're hunting, he planted all these mines around the forest. He's blowing the renegades up. Now they're starting to find and defuse the mines, not knowing that he's got a mortar up on a hill, and he's got all the mine locations zeroed in. So he starts hitting the diffusion squads with mortars. Like they thought, oh, we're safe now. We know the locations. So does he. So he's blowing up this guy. They just got hit with a mortar, and Travis is communicating like with HQ, saying like, "Get us the hell out of here." So
let me grab this remote just in case.
Okay, yeah.
I'm like a little kid in a candy store right now.
And keep in mind, this is everything you're seeing is 100% real. There's no visual effects, no computer generated imagery, nothing.
All right, so stupid question.
Yeah.
This dude with his legs blown off.
No special, or there's special. So special effects is anytime you're seeing it's anytime what you see on screen matches what you saw in real life. So in real life, you would see, if you were there standing next to the camera, you would see this. Visual effects is like CGI, where you're using a computer to like create Godzilla.
Okay.
Yeah, that's the big. So what you're seeing is all special effects. It's all real. It's all like what you would have seen if you were there on set with us.
Learn something else. Man, learning all kinds of stuff.
Yeah.
So play, you ready?
Go ahead, yeah.
Fucking Cletus, he's half dead! Literally half! I'm not carrying his bitch ass out of here. You get me the fuck out of here.
And this is still rough because, it's not done yet, but.
You're Overwatch. You tell me. Cletus, I swear to fucking God, I'll end myself. Shut the fuck up! Shut up! I don't know who he is, but he's fucking everywhere!
Oh! I have so many questions.
Is that enough?
We got one more coming too.
You fucking believe this now? Shit!
Yes, that's a little sneak peek of Faceless Land coming when it's ready, when it's done.
That's what I love about would you like indie? Is this like
This is lower than indie.
Lower
honestly.
than indie.
Yeah. Well, indie just means independent, so it means
Yeah.
like a big. So yeah, this is technically an indie, but the coolest thing about this is it literally started as 3 dudes running around in the woods making a movie. So to pick up where I left off, this was our third. This is like our third major shoot weekend. The first time I thought it was just going to be like a little fun passion project, a short film. And so I was with Josh and Zach and one other guy. We're just running around in the woods filming stuff. I was literally being like, all right, you're going to run over to this tree. You're going to aim out. You're going to shoot your gun and then get shot. And they're like, okay, what am I shooting at? I'm like, I don't know. We only started making this yesterday. We're just going to film a bunch of cool stuff and I'll figure out what it means, later, and we'll edit it. And then so we would just do that. We'd show up, we'd shoot some cool action bits with a lot of great energy. And then I started writing the script, like kind of based around what we shot, finding the story in it and finding something that would make it actually mean something. Cause I don't like just strictly action movies. Like for me, it's got to be more than the sum of its parts. Like there's got to be a story there. There's got to be characters. There's got to be something that like makes it kind of make you think or make you feel or make you just kind of pause. Otherwise, it's just kind of eye candy, and that's cool, but I need there to be something deeper than that. So it was really important for me to find, with this project, like what's the heart of it? And that took a long time, actually, because it's a story about revenge, or at least it looks like a story about revenge and about like just a shitty situation and a broken world that just burns it and eats itself alive. But I did find the heart, and well, if you listen to the spoiler early, it's more of a story about like 2 brothers kind of finding each other again, or like 2 estranged brothers who, story about family
Family.
and heal. Yeah, we'll leave it there.
It's a Fast and the Furious theme.
Yeah, it's
family.
It's nothing stronger than
No,
family.
so okay. I mean, I don't know how much you can divulge,
Yeah.
but
So, okay, now back to where I picked up earlier. I was talking to Josh. So this is before we shot this. This was on our first shoot weekend. I was like, all right, they showed me tannerite. I could feel the shockwave go through my body, but I couldn't see it. I definitely couldn't see it on camera. So I was like, all right, Josh, could you put a bullet through a PVC pipe like that big from 30 yards? He's like, yeah, because he's a marksman. He's in the Air Force. So all right, cool. Here's what we're going to do. So go ahead and pull this another one. This is a behind the scenes of our first explosion test, this tannerite BTS up here. Very, very right. Yep. All right. So don't play it yet. But actually, here, drag this guy off of just away from the thing. Yeah. Okay. So what we did was.
didn't even know you can do that.
Yeah.
I'm learning all kind, dude. I've learned like 10 things since you've stepped into the studio.
I'm like, happy
I
to
didn't even
help.
you can move that thing.
Yeah, oh, it's very helpful. Yeah. So what we do is this mound of dirt right here. Let me bring this guy with me. Here we go. Got this mound of dirt right here, under which is buried 2 pounds of tannerite. And this little black circle right here, that's a PVC pipe that's protruding above the ground. It's running down under the dirt at a very shallow angle, and it's pressed right up against the can, the tannerite. So this PVC pipe goes from above the ground straight into the tannerite can that we got about 2 pounds down there. We took a lot of time lining up Josh's angle. He's going to take 2 practice shots, and then he's going to try to put a bullet down that pipe to set off the tannerite that's buried under all that dirt. Now, keep in mind, like, action movies are really expensive. This is a $12 effect you're about to see. Go ahead and play it.
Oh. I'd say he hit the mark.
He hit the mark, yeah.
He's like, I hit the mark.
Oh, we were so psyched. I was like, yes. Because that, and when we did this, like, okay, we have a movie now. Because, like, that looks like something out of Saving Private Ryan.
And is that just putting dirt over?
That was like, we dug a big hole, like maybe 2 feet deep, put the tannerite in there, we lined up the pipe, and then we just put the dirt back over it.
Safety, clearing the
Yeah.
rifle. Look at that.
Oh, yeah, no. And that's the thing, like, it looks super redneck and super janky, but, like, we're all very, like, we know guns. I would never recommend, like, an amateur filmmaker who like, you know, this isn't part of their life. I would never recommend anyone actually do this, because every single person that's involved with this, like, owns guns, knows that world, is in that culture. Like, we know how to be safe. Like, it looks super redneck, and it is, but it's, you know, it's done intelligently and safely to the
I don't have to do a do not try this at home thing.
Yeah. I mean, first off, even if you did try that, like, that's a hard shot. I mean, there was, oh God, this is an embarrassing story, but I have to tell it for Josh's sake. So we did that same effect. So going back to the shot where Phil blows up, that was essentially what we did. Is we buried half of his legs under the ground, made like some blood and guts, and put it on his back to make it look like he just lost his legs. Filmed everything with that. Then in that same hole, we took Phil out, buried the tannerite in that same hole, and essentially did that. And then we kind of composited those 2 shots together, which is where you take like 2 real elements and you kind of stitch them together, you blend them together. So that's how we blew Phil up without actually blowing him up.
Dude, I was sitting there like,
Yeah,
and then even you're explaining this, I'm like,
yeah. Go back to
you
that
didn't
clip.
take the shot
We'll break it down
with his legs in there.
Yeah, I mean, I could have just left it there, but like, yeah.
Which one is it?
The Cletus death. Yeah, Cletus. Also, Phil is the greatest at figuring out Southern names. Yeah, so you scroll this like kind of close to the end, and we'll kind of show you a little further back. All right, right there.
Ah, found it.
Yes, and I think if you use the arrows, you might be able to scroll through frame-wise. But yeah, so we got this shot, and the camera's in the same place. This is what lets you do this. Essentially, like, we filmed this half with just Phil and no explosion. We had him like go like this, scream, cut. Took Phil out, put the tannerite in the hole, and then we filmed Levi, who's playing Tanner. We filmed him behind the tree, and then there's just like a blank. There's the tannerite back here. And then we had Josh waiting for a cue in his lines to shoot the shot, hit the tannerite. So what you see him reacting to, he's actually reacting to a real explosion. Like, it's about 15 feet away from him. We made sure that he was behind the tree.
So you had the shooter off.
Shooter's off key. Yeah, so like if
shooting. Okay.
The shooter's like here. Shooter's back here. They shoot this way. He's behind the tree, so he's protected from the shockwave. But you can actually see he's got like some earplugs in his ear. I got to edit those out. Because, you know, he's fairly close to it, like,
dude,
not a dangerous distance, but his reaction is legit. Like, he was like, he was in it.
Because you're waiting for it, and then it happens.
And the funny thing is, yeah, okay, well, fine, I'll share this. But if you play it one more time, you'll see that. Have you ever seen what's the Vietnam movie with Charlie Sheen? Where he's got that like iconic, like, he's getting shot in the back.
I know what you're talking about.
So when they film that scene, if you watch it, his body movements, they actually don't line up with the squibs. Like, he like starts getting like shot, and then he starts going like this. But it's they said it was such a good shot. It was our best take, so we just left it in. And so you can watch that scene and be like, oh yeah, he's not really like it doesn't look like he's getting shot. When we were shooting this, the shot was supposed to hit when he goes everywhere, and like he was supposed to blow up right there. But like the first couple shots missed. So he's just kind of like waiting there scared, and then it finally blows up. And I thought at first that the timing was off, but then I watched it again, and it's actually perfect because it gives you time to like watch the explosion happen, take it in, and then the minute your eyes go back to Levi is when he's like going like this.
It's almost like the Joker scene when he was supposed to blow up the hospital and it didn't go.
And they just made it part of the scene.
And then they just blew it up anyway. And he was like, "Oh,
that's
and
right."
Just went with it.
So it actually worked out perfectly. So yeah, what you're seeing is this area of the shot where Phil is. That is like from a separate take, and then I kind of blended the edges together. And then the minute the explosion goes off, I just take him out, and then it just blows up. Yeah, you can play it and kind of see that now.
103-2801. Boom.
Yeah, so the timing actually, I wouldn't have had it any other way now. And that's why I love, because in fact, he's gone. Like most people, they would cut away. But no, like that's a real ass crater right there.
Yeah.
You can see it. This is actually a bit of the prosthetic that we were wearing.
You fucking believe it now?
Yeah. And the cool thing is like these guys are all untrained actors too. Like they're just everything. They're killing it. Yeah.
Just a bunch of boys having
Just
fun.
a bunch
dude.
of boys in the woods making a movie. Yeah. And that's exactly. And so every time we film, people see that like, dude, I want to be a part of that. I'm like, all right, listen, yes, we want you. Just so you know, like, there's no money in this. Like, we're paying for all this ourselves. We're buying our own food. Dude, you want to?
Dude, I told you last time.
What are you doing around April 25th? You want to come down? That's
I
our next
will
shoot.
make it work, bro.
I'll keep you in the loop. I ain't even joking.
I'm serious.
All right,
I've always wanted to be. always wanted to be an actor as a kid.
Swear, this is your
WWE, like acting in WWE. No, I've always wanted to. I don't know. I've auditioned for a few films. You know, obviously didn't make the cut because I don't know why they wouldn't choose me. No, but no, I think it'd be cool to like test myself in that because like I am never serious. If you couldn't tell, can't be serious. But that kind of forces you to like hone in and. Like,
well, and it's funny because Levi, especially the guy who survives in that, like he's the nicest guy you'll ever meet. He's like a southern redneck who speaks Italian and Spanish fluently. He's like the most sophisticated redneck you'll ever meet, but he's able to like put on that performance too. So sometimes it's the people who are the least serious in real life who can deliver those like really convincing, you know, serious or like mean performances. Cause like you don't get a chance to flex that muscle all the time. When you get to play it, it's like, oh, this feels great. You know, that's why guys who play heroes, well, no shade against Chris Evans, like Chris Evans, I hear he's kind of a D-bag in real life because he plays like the good guy all the time. And it's like he needs balance, or his psyche needs balance. So he kind of evens that out by being maybe a little bit of a tool in real life. And it's not just
so I'd have to be a major tool on camera then because I'm such a nice guy.
Exactly. No, that's what we want for these renegades. You know, that's what we're going for. But
renegade.
That's right. Living like we're renegades.
I'm serious. If you need someone, all I ask for is more than 3 seconds on camera.
Well, so the funny part is, are you familiar with, this is another little bit of movie lore, with the concept of a red shirt in a movie?
I know red shirt like in
Star Trek?
Like sports.
Okay, yeah.
Like college wrestling.
So a little differently. So it started in Star Trek, where anytime a character, like a bit character was going to die, someone with no lines, they would always seem to be wearing red. Like it just kind of became a thing. And so in most action movies, especially low budget ones, we'll give you a pick, John Wick. So one of the most iconic action movies of this century. Started as like, you know, what they thought was just going to be a throwaway kind of straight to video movie, but it came so good. You know, remember the club scene in John Wick where he like goes in, he's looking for Igor's son, and you know, he's like going with the beat and the trap music and shooting people. He does it in reloads. Yeah. So in that
and the
scene,
reloads are all timed perfectly,
and they're incredible, especially because they're lining those up with squibs. Yeah, that's movie. I'm glad that movie became as successful as it did. But if you watch something, you'll notice at the start of that club sequence, all the guys he's taken out, they have like long flowing hair. They got full bushy beards on. By the end of that sequence, all the guys he's taken out, they are balder and more clean shaven than Mr. Clean on TRT. Like they're no hair anywhere.
Mr. Clean on TRT.
I mean, he's kind of already on TRT.
Yeah,
he's pretty buff,
Clean
but
is
yeah,
jacked.
just we need more hair loss. That's because in that whole sequence, they only had about like 6 or 7 stunt guys that are playing all those characters that John Wick's killing throughout that entire sequence. Basically, the minute he kills somebody, they would change that guy's outfit, cut his hair a little bit, and be like, all right, you're a new guy now. So like if you were in that sequence, he'd kill you like this. Then they would shave off your mustache or maybe trim your beard, go to just the mustache, put a hat on. Like, all right, you're a different guy now. After that, they clean shave you, give you a mohawk. All right, you're a different guy now. After that, they buzz you all the way, give you a different outfit. You'd be like 5 guys. And that's what's happening in this land as well, is like we're all kind of playing, even me, I'm playing multiple characters, but and I know if you look for it, you'll find it like in the full movie, but there's scenes where like, yeah, we'll cut from one scene right to another scene. And it's like the same 3 actors just in different military kit with a different weapon with like some kind of head covering on. Like we're really making it look like we've got way more
picked that up.
money than yeah. I mean, if you look for it in the John Wick, you'll find it. I don't like calling too much attention to it, especially for this land, because you don't want people like looking for that kind of stuff. Yeah. But if you're directing well, then it's okay, because like as a director, I should never be. If I'm letting people's eyes wander to the point where they can see that stuff, like that's my fault as a director. Like I gotta be directing well enough so that people's eyes are always going right where I want them.
You're very, very intentional with this stuff. Like we had a conversation on the last episode regarding AI. Yeah. And like AI is at a point right now where you love it or you hate it, but everyone's talking about it. And your stance was like, if AI can basically, and then you can correct me, if AI can replace you, you're not doing it good enough, or
I think it's like
for the right reasons.
Either you forgot what good art really looks like, or you never learned in the first place. Like there's that story and I talked this to death last time, so I won't spend too long on it, but AI is not going to have that transcendent element. Like there's part of, if you believe you have a soul, which I do, and you believe that there is like a life or a level of existence above and beyond this one, then like that's kind of the key to surviving AI, because you have to believe that there's some kind of transcendent power. Like for me, it's God. For some people, they may call it something else. There's some kind of transcendence up there in here somewhere that is so much more than just the chemicals of what make up our, flying around in our brain. If you believe that this is all there is, then yeah, AI can do what you do, because AI doesn't have a soul. But if you do believe in the soul and you can express that through your work, then AI is never going to replace that. Like I said, it's never going to understand how it feels to be truly human in the sense of like, those moments that words can't explain.
We call that the human element, right?
Yeah.
Like there's always this human element to art. That's why we connect. I think you actually just nailed. I think you said it better than I ever did last time, which is if talking about what is art, you can get really philosophical, theoretical. I think art is just any kind of expression of what it is to be human. Yeah. Like if there's anything that speaks to the human experience, that's art. That's why modern art kind of sucks, because it's just like we don't even know what it is. But yeah, like if you watch a really good movie like Rocky, and you feel that in your chest, you hear a great song like Amazing Grace, and you feel like, yeah, that's a uniquely human thing, and there should be that sense of awe. Yeah, you're bridging the gap of what I'm expressing and what you're feeling. Yeah, and you're trying to connect that. With AI, you don't really have that. You give it parameters and it just blurts out what it thinks. Yeah, because I think most people, we've turned art into content. Like we don't say I'm a filmmaker anymore, or there's not jobs for, well, there is. Most people, if you ask them what they do, they're like, oh, I'm a content creator. Like content. I hate that word so much, because it just means like it's just shit that's coming down the pipe that's going to be forgotten in 2 seconds. It's like fast food, but even worse. And yeah, it's like, I'm not a filmmaker. I don't like light your soul on fire. I just make content that's here today and gone tomorrow. Well, yeah, and then what do we do with content, right? Well, I got to schedule it out for the week. So then we just put it on there, create a caption, and let it auto-post. Like, we've missed the meaning of what quote-unquote content is supposed to stand, like connection. Like, especially when I'm doing these short reels. Yeah. For, like, to highlight the video, the episode. I'll, like, even while we're talking, I'm like, oh, man, that was a great point. I'll try to make a note of it, because, like, I want people to connect and be like, man, that dude's story or what he's talking about, I resonate with that. Let me watch the rest of this conversation. Do you know about Opus Clip? So I've used Opus Clip, and I use it as a tool, but it'll grab things and it's not the full thing I want. So I'll go in, move it over, and I'm very transparent. I'll go in, add, take away, cut, make sure like, okay, this is grasping what I wanted to say.
Yeah, I do the same thing. I use it to kind of get me started and like, find that stuff. I'm like, all right, I'll take it from here now.
But what I'll see people do, and I'll see this with other podcasts, not shit on other podcasts, do what you do. You can tell they'll run the Opus and post it.
Yeah.
And it's like the aesthetics wrong, the angles are wrong, and then the thought is like half expressed, and I'm like, what? I don't get what.
But like for 95% of people, they're gonna watch the first 3 seconds anyway and scroll past.
That's
like,
true.
and that's the hard part is. It seems like you kind of have to play that game if you want to get people's attention.
I don't play that game. I've made it clear, and that's and my numbers show it. Like I don't have thousands and thousands and thousands of views, but I do know this: the people who do watch it, they're loyal and intent. I'll go to fights. I'll be out and people talk about the episode. Dude, man, that episode was so. Man, I really appreciate it. And I'm like, that's all I care. Like even if it's 2 people, 3 people, 10 people, you know. And someone told me this. They're like. You know, I made a comment. I was like, man, this only got like 200 views. He's like, only 200 views. If you had 200 people in the room, liking, saying, hey man, you're awesome, you're great, you're good. If you had 200 people in that room, how would you feel? Like overwhelmed.
That's a good point.
Joyed.
That's a really good point.
Like it's so true. If we had 200 people in the studio right now watching us, like man,
like you ever written thank you notes for like a wedding or like a 18th? Where it's like, oh, this is a lot of people. I got to write 200 thank you notes. Like, geez,
that's a lot of people, man. So like. I'm more of a quality over quantity because if you're doing it right and for the right reasons, quantity will come eventually.
I like that perspective. I think I'm gonna try to adopt that. Like,
especially in filmmaking, man. If you can narrow down to what you want to do and connect with people you want to connect with, it's gonna ripple, man. It's gonna ripple. Like what we see is these movies try to appease the masses. And then what it does is you can't connect with everyone. Yeah. You can't. Not on a podcast, not on social media, not in life. When you try to appease everyone, you appease no one because you're going to rub everyone. Oh, he's not intentional. For the people who would have connected, oh, he's not intentional. He's not doing this for the people who wouldn't watch your stuff anyway. Yeah. They're gonna shit talk you anyway. So it's like, just do it for the right reason.
Thing you want to do.
Yeah.
It's funny. I'm very proud of Beyond the Lake. Like it came together so well. I think it's more than the sum of its parts. It's got incredible music in it. It's beautiful to watch. The acting's there. It's not a perfect movie by any stretch. Like it was my first feature. We made it during COVID. You know, I lost my entire original cast and crew, all my locations, all my money. Had to like restart from scratch multiple times. It's definitely and we had people quit halfway through. Like a bunch of stuff happened. It's definitely held together with duct tape in some places, but like I said, it's still great. I still think about that movie though as like, like with what I just showed you, if somebody watches that and or actually someone has, I showed a studio guy that I was meeting with. I showed him Polaroid, which y'all saw at the very beginning, and then I showed him some stuff from Beyond the Lake, and he said he's like, the fact that both those things came out of the same brain is scary. It's like, it's
balance.
But it's a little weird. Sometimes I think about like what you're saying. Like if you try to appease everybody, you're not going to anyway. I think a lot of Beyond the Lake, even though it's a good movie, I think it was somebody else's movie to make. Like it's still very personal to me, and it's still like it's a story that I'm glad I told. I'm very proud of it and everything that went into it. But like I don't think I think I had this idea in my mind of like, oh, this is the type of movie that like sophisticated people like watching. I need to make a movie like that. And then I'll go make like the stuff that I want to make. And again, like glad I did it. But I think like that's a movie that somebody I went to film school with would have made. It's not necessarily the movie that I was put on earth to make. Like everyone has a certain story to tell and they've been given like a certain voice to tell it. Like, a guy like, Shaky Graves or Morgan Wade, people with like those really like kind of gravelly voices that sing country. They're never going to sing opera, but opera people never going to sing like a really good country song either. Like there's a different sound, that comes from a different life, a different perspective. Everybody has their sound in music. It's the same in film. Everyone's got their style. And I think Beyond the Lake was me kind of trying to sing like out of my key or just like out of my style. Still great, still came out great, but I'm really excited now just realizing like, I'm going to make the movie that I want. It's going to be great. And I'd rather be loved for that than like mildly appreciated for something else. So I'm going full on with like great character-based action movies. And And that's
well, that's the perfect example, right? Like, if you have a director, like what's one of the most, I say, name a director. What's a director comes to your mind?
Oh, for me, Christopher Nolan. He's the GOAT.
What does he specialize in?
He specializes in like really cerebral, big budget blockbuster movies. So like Inception, The Dark Knight, Tenet, Oppenheimer.
Things that kind of make you like,
they blow your mind.
Brain friction. A lot of brain friction. I remember watching Oppenheimer and I'm like, it was so long, but I was still in it.
It never really loses you.
Yeah.
Like it moves so well.
It's always good. Now imagine him making The Notebook.
I'd watch that movie though.
You'd watch it because it
well, I
would
think
be
it's
his
like,
spin of
imagine
it. It'd be his spin of it.
if he did, yes.
But if he tried to do The Notebook as The Notebook is,
right,
it would be very hard to watch.
Right.
But you would watch it if he put his spin because you like his style.
Yeah.
Right. So
and that's when he announced that he was going to make Oppenheimer, people were like, really? He's going to make a historical biopic about some guy in the 40s? Like,
and then look how he did it.
And he did it crazy.
And you're like, oh, because it's his version of it. And that's why I try to, especially with podcasts, like I've helped start a lot. I've helped people with their podcasts, and people are like, why are you helping people? Because everyone has their own niche, their own thing. Mm-hmm. Even if it seems similar, like the hosts are different. The guests are going to be engaged different because everything is different.
Yeah.
Stop trying to be, everyone wants to be, I get the inclusivity thing, but everyone wants to be like, let me get as many, why?
Oh, I got to
do what you're good, do what you're good at.
Yeah. And
do it for the people you want to do it for. You know, and if you don't like it, that's fine. It's not your cup of tea. Don't pay attention to it.
It's funny. Yes, what you're saying is right, but just like everything, even that can be taken to too far of an extreme.
True.
And I had last year, I was new in Atlanta, and I was looking for like events to go to, like kind of communities to plug into. And I found this thing called Right Club, which was proposed as literature as blood sport is the tagline. I'm like, this sounds kind of interesting. And basically, it was kind of like a rap battle, but like for just literature and for writers. Basically, two writers would be given, like each would have, there'd be 3 sets of opposing words, like birth and rebirth, rot and wilt, rot and fresh, bloom and wither, or something like that. 2 writers would each prepare a piece, like a literary piece around that word, and they'd have 7 minutes to present it, and like the audience would vote for the favorites. That was the premise. I'm like, oh, this will be cool. But when I tell you that when I went in there, what I saw chilled me to my core and like almost horrified me. I felt like I was in a horror movie a little bit because I went in there expecting to see like great writing and great literature, and I saw the death of writing like in front of me, and people were clapping for it. So I went there. New to Atlanta, I get there. I'm like, that, the premise was what it was. I'm like, oh, this is going to be cool. So the host comes up, he's this kind of like nervous guy in 2 pieces of a 3-piece suit. He's on the stage, and we're in this theater that was like an old church that had been retrofitted as a theater. And there was probably about 200 people behind me. So the host comes out like, Right Club fans, are you ready? And everyone's cheering and screaming. And I was the lead videographer for 247 Fighting for a long time. Like I made their promos, and me and my camera. Yeah. Oh, and Ryan is great. Like that's such a great promotion. So happy to have played like just the small part that I got to play in it. I'm super happy with what he's doing. So me and my camera, we got ringside seats to every fight. So I was, I got like front row shots of knockouts. And when I say that this Right Club crowd full of like beanies and sweaters and hairy arms and black painted nails and fishnet stockings, like all on the same guy, and then other eclectic personalities, when I say that like their cheers were like something you'd see at the site of a knockout at a 247 bout, I'm not exaggerating. Like they were ravenous, but they all like, nobody was like ugly or offensive, but everybody in the crowd, they just kind of had the air of like a dog whose owner had kept it in a stroller its whole life and like drained the vitality out of it slowly. That was kind of like the way I would describe the people who were attending, other than me, hopefully. So the bout starts, and the first 2 writers come up, and they're given the words, what was it? It was birth and rebirth. So the first woman comes up, and her whole, it's funny, you go by Ish Lopez, right?
Yeah.
This woman, I wanted to call her Ish in the sense that her whole persona just seemed like an exercise in non-committal. Like she was tall-ish, blonde-ish, pretty-ish. She was wearing a shirt that like wasn't a crop top but didn't really reach her waist. She had kind of good posture. She never really made eye contact with anyone. We'll call her Ashley because that's like the most common baby name from the 90s. It's just this girl like, okay, you are like the most plain white woman I've ever seen. Her opponent walks on stage, and this guy left nothing to the imagination. He was like kind of, hard, heavy leather cowboy boots were sounding off the wooden stage as he lumbered up. His head was low. He's got on faded jeans. He's got a rodeo belt buckle that's holding up his jeans. He's got this black cotton shirt that's got like white lace and roses kind of embroidered into it. Long, flowing gray salt and pepper hair, like very wrinkled, aged face. Mustache that would be right at home alongside the cast of Tombstone. Like this guy was a character. Like if Nashville were a person, it would be him. So I don't remember his name. I've just been calling him Nashville. So Nashville's word is rebirth, and Ashley's word is birth. So Nashville's going first. And he gives us this really, really insightful piece. He's got 7 minutes to tell a story on rebirth. Gives us this really cool story about this aging farmer who is he's working on a farm, and there's this elderly pig that's like been there as long as he has, but it's getting really old. It's in pain a lot. He has to help it eat. He can't stand up. He has to put the pig down, and like he gives it some yogurt. He gives it some painkiller. Then he ushers in,
not the old yeller.
He ushers in the doctor to give it like the final shot. And I remember it so vividly. The guy did and it's coming from this like aged guy who you can tell like it's probably a true story. And the guy, he walks out of the barn. He's wiping tears away from his eyes. He's like, as I kick the dirt off my boots, I tell myself, I've done this too many times. I'm never going to do it again. And right there, like one of his assistants comes flying around the corner in the flatbed pickup truck. And she's like, hey, look what I found. He just escaped from the sausage factory. She pulls out this little baby pig, like barely, a couple weeks old. Thing runs up to him and starts like licking his boot, picks it up. He's running his hand over the little head with all the red bumps. And he's like, and as tears begin to flow down my face, the cycle begins all over again. I was just like, wow. Like, what a story for rebirth. Like this pig that he loved is gone. And then he gets a new one. And he knows it's going to hurt him to watch it grow up again and to go through that again. But he can't not love it because that's who he is. I was like, man, that was excellent. I'm like, I am in for such a treat if the next 5 writers are anywhere half as good as that. So Ashley comes up. She's got rebirth is her thing. Things that make an impression on us, we remember really well. Like I could probably quote you that story word for word. It was so good. I don't really remember anything about Ashley's story because it wasn't. There wasn't a story. There wasn't a plot. She didn't make characters. She basically went up there and ranted for 7 minutes about like, she was hopping around from subject to subject like a coked up kangaroo. Like it was 1 minute she was talking about like the injustices of geriatric birthing procedures because of like the latent cost of healthcare under late stage capitalism. Then she was talking about like a screening of Les Miserables that she saw with her mom when she was dead or before she died. And then she was talking about something else. I think at one point she did like, it's still my body, my choice. She threw that in there to get the cheers from the applause. There was no structure. There was no plot, no format, nothing. And I think she ended with something like, and I know I'm going to be okay. And the crowd went wild. And I'm just like, that was not literature. That was, and even she herself called it in her piece. She's like, this extended therapy session. She called it that herself as like what she was doing. Now, you're in Southern Atlanta. You heard the crowd that I described. Who do you think they voted for as the winner?
Ish.
Yeah, Ishley. That's her name. They voted for Ishley. And I saw it coming. I was really bummed. I was like, that sucks. Because like, Nashville, he actually gave us literature. Like, life had handed him, so I was like, okay, well, hopefully that was just a fluke. Next 2 people come up. I'm like, this will be better, right? You got this kind of dapperly clad black guy in square rimmed glasses comes up and like, oh, he looks good. And then his opponent is this woman, like shorter, curvy Italian woman, red heels, red dress, red glasses that just got sharper and more angular every time I picture them. She could have come off the set of Stranger Things playing a Hawkins High librarian. She would have looked right at home. I've been calling her the librarian. The black guy, we'll call him Ed, and you'll see why in a second. So the word combo here is you've got wilt versus bloom. Ed is supposed to give us a piece of literature that he's written on wilt. Ed goes first. He takes his poise. He takes a stand. He gets some poise up. He looks over the audience with some nice like gravitas. I'm like, oh, finally, Ed's he's gonna save us. Ed goes on to give us another rant about the how hard it is to be a puppeteer of color in the Atlanta film industry because there aren't enough puppets of color in the puppet scene, and how those puppets that they are often puppeted by white or non-African American puppeteers. And he was like making fun of the idea of diversity hiring, but then also saying like, please hire me because I'm black. Like I couldn't tell what he was actually trying to say. And I was like, also, what does this have to do with wilt? Because he kept on saying, as I wilt, I think about this. As I wilt, I think about this. And by the end of his story, well, let me put it this way. His word was wilt. He kept on saying, as I wilt, and I've been calling him Ed. E-D. This dude was saying what he thinks about when he's having erectile dysfunction as his piece of literature, just ranting. It was like watching an animal nibble off the hand that feeds it. Because again, like I was like, what is your point? You're just saying that you're mad that there's not enough black puppets in the world? Like, is that what we're doing here? Again, no story, no craft.
And what is that? Yeah, and what is that? Well, what do you mean by that?
He never said. I don't even remember, like, he just ended up making fun of his cousin who got more work than him, and that's how he ended. And everyone cheered. I'm like, what are we cheering for? Librarian comes up. She's got Bloom. And I thought she was going to give us like, considering where Ed took Wilt, I was worried that I was about to get a 7-minute rant on her first period. Thankfully, didn't go there. But
this is actually about reproduction.
Well, so she goes up and talked about how hard it is to be a young Italian girl in middle school in Southern California, where like, you know, all the blonde bombshells are floating down the hallways and she's busy shaving her arms twice a day and wearing bulky sweaters to cover up curves that wouldn't be popular for another 2 decades, and making sure that nobody sees her from the side because she was self-conscious about the size of her nose. Now, I've grown up, I'm Italian, I grew up with Italian sisters. Like, I'm sure my mom and my sisters, my aunts, they probably would have liked that part of the story. It was her telling it. I'm like, okay, what are we doing with Bloom here? And I thought it was going to be like, oh, I think I see where this is going. She's going to say like, and then there's going to be that movie moment where, you know, the awkward middle school girl suddenly falls away and like the beautiful young woman blooms forth. Now, she talked about seeing a movie called Bloom starring some young Italian actress, and it was the first time she had seen like a young Italian portrayed in a mainstream movie. I'm like, oh, so that like encouraged you. No, she just got mad because she's like, I don't even know why. She was just mad. She felt like she didn't want to see herself on the screen, so she just started cursing out Nellie Conroy, who plays the lead in the movie, cursing out the movie, like screaming. And I kind of just zoned out there because I was just too taken aback by what's going on. When the clapping started, I kind of came back and I reflex clapped just as she was saying, and my nose is beautiful, bitches. And that's how she ended her story. Again, no literature. I'm just like, what the heck is going on? Now, this part was kind of funny because the audience had been voting. They would like, you'd be like, make some noise if you think Nashville was the winner. People would clap and cheer. Make some noise if you think Ishley was the winner. People would cheer. It was clear, though, that, again, people are not voting based on like the talent or the craft that was displayed. They're voting on, okay, what's going to improve my social credit score more? You know, like who's more victimized that I can lift up because I'm such a nice like white savior? Who do you vote for between the black man with erectile dysfunction or the body positive woman? It's like, which minority do we go here? Who ranks higher in the intersectionality chart? And so basically everybody in the audience just voted for both people and there was no clear winner. And the host starts sweating bullets because like he doesn't want to have to declare a loser. Yeah. So he was like, that was pretty close. We're going to vote again. Make some noise here. Make some noise here. Again, no clear winner. He's just like, I'm watching him just start to sweat.
We have a tie.
So he elects a panel from the audience to try to decide the winner, trying to like shirk the responsibility. It's like, vote one more time. The panel comes back like, we think it's a perfect tie. And he's like, we have to have a winner, right? And eventually I think the guy actually just like gave it to the librarian and cut him off the hook. Something like, okay, please God, this has been just so disappointing. Again, it's not even that like, it's not about the subject matter. Like, you know, talk about whatever you want, but writing and literature, it's like, they weren't doing that. They were ranting. It wasn't writing, it was ranting. Like life for any artist, it gives you some kind of trauma, some kind of negative experience, some kind of painful thing. It gives you this like lump of clay. And then through that, you're able to shape that experience into something beautiful and like redeem it and give it back to it. You know, we talked about last time when something's broken, how there's that gold joinery in Japanese. You repair it and you make it more beautiful. That's not what they were doing. They were taking the clay that life gave them, the experience, just jamming it into an ugly ball and throwing it back spitefully in the audience's face is like, I'm not going to do anything with this. You do something with it. Like, so that was kind of boring. I'm not even going to start with the next lady because she was basically, came on stage, pressed pants, a suit, short cropped hair, hairy arms, but perfectly shaven armpits. Put it this way. They played rock, paper, scissors to decide who would go first every bout. I was pretty sure she was going to throw scissors, and she did. So I started calling her Scissors.
I like the monikers. Right?
So I don't remember names. So she goes on, I think her word was rot, and I'll skip the details. But basically, she talked about how figs are pollinated, which is where a female wasp gives birth inside the fig. The males grow, they mate with their sisters. The males get too big to fly out of the fig. Only the females fly out to pollinate more figs. And so she's like, every time I bite down on a fig and the juices run down my chin, I feel the crunch beneath my teeth, and I think, yes, the carcass of a man. That was basically her piece. Then she talked about like why she purposely lets flowers rot in her house. It was just disgusting. Again, no craft. Here's the scary part. This is the part that that chilled me, that made me kind of horrified. Sometime during her piece, Nashville, the first guy that went, the only guy that gave us like a good story, he had gotten up to go to the bathroom, and the host kind of just like wormed into that guy's seat and started watching. I saw Nashville comes back. He looks around, he looks at the crowd, he sees his seat's been taken. This is this old guy, wrinkled face. He's looking around. Nobody sees him. Like he's off on the side of the stage. Everyone's, laughing and cheering at the farce that's going on stage, this demagoguery contest. He sees his seat's been taken. He's there. He's holding his drink. He looks around. Nobody notices him. And so he kind of just, he bows his head, and I'm watching him. I'm watching him like across the theater. He bows his head and he just steps back and he leans against the wall. And I didn't realize at first what was happening. So I was like, why is he glowing red? Why does it look like there's like some demon above him? And I realized without knowing it, he had stepped right into the silhouette of the exit sign, like the exit door. And there's that red exit sign glowing above him. And it was like this super haunting moment of like, this guy, the actual writer here, is on his way out. Like he's not welcome. This place that was supposed to be his home, that was supposed to be like a haven for writers and a celebration of the craft. His seat had been taken. Nobody wanted him anymore. And as I'm watching him realize that his home had left him and he's got nowhere else to go, people are laughing and cheering. I was like, oh, this is how writing dies, with like thunderous applause. And
damn.
Yeah, it was haunting. And I mean, like, it was one of those moments where you're like, I feel like I'm in a movie. Like if I were to direct this, I wouldn't do it any differently. And I had to stay through the rest of the pitiful excuses for writing, because I was like, I need to tell that guy I saw him. And I did. Like as soon as it broke and everybody like started congratulating the other writers, I pushed my way through the crowd. I got to the guy standing by himself. I just put my hand on his shoulder. I was like, listen, man, I came here to see writing, and I want you to know that you're the only person on that stage who gave us actual literature, and that's not lost on me. So thank you. And like I could tell, this is a guy that, life had probably taken all the tears he had a long time ago, but I could tell like that meant something to him. And I just kind of like stood there and looked at him, and I was so angry. I was angry for him. I was angry at them, because like this is supposed to be like the young scene where ideas and innovation is happening and writing is getting better, not getting worse. And they were like cheering on the destruction of the craft that they were supposed to be championing and protecting. And this one guy who was like the lone one holding the torch, like his flame was going out. He didn't have it in him anymore. I could see that. And I was like, I got to fan this flame somehow. I got to keep him alive, because if these are the writers of the future, like if this is our Hemingway and our Tolstoy and our Lewis and our Tolkien, if these are like the young avant-garde scene, we are fucked. Because that's not writing. That was anti-writing. It was everything that it shouldn't be. But people liked it. And that's what they were cheering for. Because again, it wasn't about the actual craft. It was like, how good are you at being a victim and making us feel sorry for yourself? And I was, yeah. Oh, and so as I walked out, I took one last look back at the building. And that's when I had my final head shake of just like, fuck. Because I don't know if you remember where I said this is all taking place. It was in a theater that had once been a church.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, it goes to show you kind of where things are evolving to. And it's like, if you
devolving.
Devolving too. And like, this isn't a knock on anything or anyone, but it's a knock on industries, right? Like it happens in every industry. People get into an industry, they don't do it with the best of intention, and it's like half-assed and watered down. And it's like I'll watch podcasts with millions of views of people going on there just talking shit. Like, and I get it. Some people love that. But it's like when I listen to podcasts, and this is me, my personal opinion, take it, do what you want with it. I listen to podcasts more recently. It's about, you know, motivation, building yourself, listen to people's stories. How did they get to where they're at? What are you currently doing? Why does your brain work the way it does? Like, it's stuff to like, hopefully I can pull from and push myself to be better.
Yeah.
And there's podcasts out there, and it's podcasts that no one's ever heard of, right? Like they're small podcasts usually, or they're major podcasts that aren't getting the traction they should be. But then a podcast talking about Hawk to a girl gets millions of views, and you're like, what did we talk about on this podcast?
Yeah.
A girl who was on camera for 5 seconds.
And then ran a crypto scam.
Yeah. Yeah. And disappeared. And it's like, that is what we're taking in. That is what we're taking in. You know, it blows, or content, right? Like,
Yeah. More content.
the content we take in, it's like,
is this making us a better human?
yeah, like, what are we doing with this?
Yeah.
How does this change your life? It doesn't.
It leaves you right where it found you, or it leaves you off worse. Like,
It just blows my mind. And
it's crazy how people can so easily comprehend the fact that if I put junk food into my body's going to become sick and unhealthy, yet don't think twice about all the crap they put into their mind. Like, your mind's the same way. If you put junk food into your brain 24/7, your brain's going to become unhealthy. Your mind, your psyche is going to become super unhealthy.
why are we stressed? Why are we depressed? Why is there anxiety? What are you consuming? Mm-hmm. You know, these shows on Netflix now. But there's a show. This is by design. There's a show, I saw it, where couples go on to date other people to see if they're with the person they're supposed to be with. And they frame it in a way where it's like, oh, this is to strengthen your relation. How are you strengthening a relationship if you're intentionally dating other people in front of your significant other? How does that solve your issues? You know, and they said, well, and then you got the people very smart on both ends of the spectrum of anything you're talking about. I've noticed that because I've heard conversations where I'm like, well, you know what, that kind of makes sense. Well, if you go on this show and she's entertaining other people, that relationship isn't as strong as this should be. And you're like, you know what, that makes sense. Mm-hmm. But like, if you want to build this relationship, that is not the way to do it. If anything, isolate yourselves, delete everything out of your lives and focus on each other for the 3 months. Where are those shows?
Yeah.
Hey, you're struggling, you relate. It's just going to be you two doing things you love, talking to each other. You will have a therapist on site or a counselor on site to work you through things. And at the end of that, if it doesn't work out, it's not meant to be. No, the show is let's add alcohol and parties and social life and other couples, and let's see if you can strengthen your relationship.
So, you know, I think I know why. I've been thinking about this for a long time. I think I know why that is. And the perfect illustration is actually the sixth and final writer that I skipped over because her story is even more sad somehow. So after Scissors went, ending with some kind of like call to feminism, the last woman that came on stage, she's a frail, kind of shaking black woman in a ruffled yellow dress, you know, very close posture. She's kind of slowly shuffling up to the mic. You know, I could see the droops under her eyes. It looked like she'd spent her whole life crying. And watching her try to take the mic and start speaking, it was like watching a Jenga tower that like keeps on every word, every glance, every acknowledgement. It was like someone taking out a block and putting it higher. You're just waiting for it to fall. And I'm thinking like, okay, maybe, you know, is there gonna be actual writing here, or is she just gonna like, you know, jump on the demagoguery contest? She starts out, it's been 3 years to the day since my father committed suicide. And I was like, oh boy, away we go again. And the saddest thing is like her story was, you know, her family had always kind of mocked her for going to therapy, so she stopped going. And then her dad was doing well enough. He got a nicer car, but it was in not a nice neighborhood. He got carjacked and died. That set her back mentally even farther. And like she stopped her story halfway through. She started bawling. She couldn't stop crying. Her opponent came on stage, like wrapped her up in a hug, and the whole audience went on, and they clapped and they cheered. And that's when it hit me. When people say, like, I was watching a fractured woman on stage who thought that writing was going to be her salvation, because like we said, ideally art lets you take the worst situation and craft something, if not new or beautiful, something that can help you get some catharsis. But what she had been told, she arrived like 10 years too late. Had she arrived to the writing scene, like when writing still meant something, maybe she would have found some of that healing. But instead, she got here when the way to be a good writer was just make yourself seem as pitiable and as helpless and as hopeless as possible. And like, you ever heard some people say like, oh, you're beautiful just the way you are? I heard people behind me as they were cheering as she's crying on stage from this trauma that she had never been allowed to heal, because every time she wrote, she just tore it back opening. And I heard people behind me saying like, oh, you're beautiful just the way you are. And I'm watching this shell of a woman who's in agony her whole life. And the whole crowd is cheering for her to stay that way. Because it's like, think about it. If you're them, change is hard. Healing's hard. If you're somebody who tried and failed, because everybody does, no one gets it right the first time, you don't want to see an example of somebody who fights and makes it. You don't want to see an example of someone who wins. You don't want to see an example of someone who takes a shitty situation and makes it out and becomes healthy and finds true life. Because then what's your excuse? It's so much more easy to say, no, stay broken, because then you won't make me feel bad about me. Stay broken. There's beauty in being brokenness. You're beautiful just the way you are, and we'll all be broken together. And there's a sick little co-op going on there, because the beauty in brokenness comes again from the healing part. Like when you do find wholeness or find healing or find some kind of catharsis, what you went through to get there makes that ending bit more beautiful. But that's not what that's not what this crowd was saying. They were saying like, no, you're beautiful as you're broken, because that doesn't make me feel bad about me. Like you ask, why is there not a show where they help people fix their relationships? How many people have the stomach, have the balls, have the discipline, have the heart to actually do that in their own life? It's so much easier to feel better about yourself by watching an example saying, oh, that's, look, they're worse than me. I don't have to feel as bad. That's why I think that's why people watch shows like My 600-Pound Life. Like, oh, I'm not that fat. Like, as long as there's someone worse off than me, that's good enough for me. That's how I feel better. And I think that's why we thrive. That's why so many people crave drama. They don't want healing. No. They want just the wound opened and reopened so that they never have to heal. And it's like you're scared about that. It didn't always used to be like that. We used to champion the hero stories. We used to champion like a more romantic style of art of somebody who worked and strived, who went through something hard and who came out, who found a way out, like The Pursuit of Happiness. I don't think we'd get a movie like that nowadays. Now, like people just, I think that's why they like TV better than movies, is because TV lets you stretch out the drama and the conflict for like 8 seasons. And you only really have to get the resolution right at the end. It lets people stay in the chaos more without them having to find the catharsis or having to work for the catharsis. And yes, like I feel so bad for that woman, because she thought that what she was doing was going to help her in writing this and telling the story. But that's not what people wanted from her. They wanted her to be like, they didn't want her to be whole. They wanted her to stay where she was. And that just sickens me.
Well, because what's the saying? Misery loves company.
Yeah.
It's like if you're unwilling to change, I want to be around people like me.
Yeah.
Because now I'm more comfortable here instead of trying to break out of that and find healing or something better. Yeah. And I've unfortunately been that person. I was that person my younger adulthood. I was very, wasn't very good intention. I'm just like, well, my life sucks. Why do they have it that way? And then I started realizing they have nothing to do with my life. If anything, that should be a motivation, inspiration to like get out of what I'm doing or be better or seek something different, because it sucks here.
Yeah.
I don't like it here. Why would I want someone else feeling this way? You would think as we get older and more mature, that's the mindset that gets developed, but I'm not seeing that. Especially like, how do you see this translating into the film industry? You being in the industry itself, like how is the film industry devolving? Because we're not getting like, in my opinion, there's a lot of good movies out there, but I remember my childhood, banger after banger after banger, like hero or this inspiration or something like you were talking about. You know, started off horrible, now they're here, they boom, big happy ending or big, like you're not seeing a lot of that now.
Yeah, I mean, I've talked about the kind of the thematic degradation that's happening in terms of like what stories are saying and like what Right Club is storying and what like the current underground scene is. I think the biggest way though, if you want to track like what's going on in Hollywood, is always follow the money. It's like on a financial side, it's like, yeah, why, if movies and TV seem to be getting kind of worse on the whole, how does the industry keep growing? And the stark reality is most big movies, they don't actually make their money by making a good movie that people see. Like movies that lose money at the box office still make money for their producers, for the people that make them. Not all the time, but like at the top levels. So if you wanted to make a movie that guaranteed you to make money, here's how you would do it. Doesn't matter what the actual movie is. And this happens in Hollywood all the time. It's how they make money on movies that lose money. So you go into making a movie. Making a movie is a huge enterprise. You need a small army to do it. It takes like 2 years, even for a small one. It's a lot of work. A lot goes into it. And there's a lot of logistics that go into making a movie. Like you got to have a transfer. You know, like there's a whole union, the Teamsters, dedicated just to driving people. You know, you're going to have transportation. You're going to have craft services like the food. Okay, crafty. Let's just take food. We'll keep it there. So craft services, what people eat on a set. You got to feed your crew every 6 hours. You know, you guys got to be snacks and coffee there. People want to be fed well. So where are you going to get all that stuff? Well, you're going to need paper cups, right? People got to drink water on set, even though there's water bottles and Gatorade and, you know, cups of coffee and like actual glasses of water. But we need paper cups for this movie. So what I'm going to do is we got some investment money for this movie, and we got like $30 million worth of someone else's money. I'm going to start a paper cup company. We just make paper cups. I'm going to start that company. I'm going to own it. And I'm going to use that company to sell the paper cups that this movie's going to need. We're going to be filming for 3 months. I think we're going to need about, what do you think, 500,000 paper cups? That sounds about right for 100 people over 3 months. Yeah, I think 500. We're going to sell these cups for, let's take 50 cents a cup. Yeah, that sounds about right. So this person who makes the movie is, you know, they're basically using the movie as a way to funnel money from the production back through the production into their pocket, because they own a lot of other kind of movie making services. Like I said, the paper cups. You now got all the money that it costs. You sold your paper cups at an outrageous markup. You just pocketed a bunch of that money yourself. Doesn't matter if you actually need those cups or if you're going to use them. You got that money now. That's all. And so a lot of shady producing is about finding ways to do that. So if you can make your money that easily, why bother doing all the hard work to actually make a good movie and all the thought and effort that goes into that? Well, this is a much surer bet. It's going to keep me rich. Let me find the easiest movies to produce. Let's shoot them as quickly as possible. Let's get them written as quickly as possible. It doesn't matter artistry. Just get the cheapest director you can find. One who's going to play ball. You know, one who's not going to try to like do anything super artistic. We just want to get this movie made off the, you know, through production, through post. And then I'll, you know, start another company and I'll sell my paper cups to the next movie that I make with somebody else's money. So that's one big thing. That's not responsible for all of the changes, but that model, when that's possible, like it's decreasing the incentive to like do a good job. Other things, it's just getting so expensive from a production standpoint in terms of like it's so expensive to shoot films in America. Like you know, most Marvel movies that take place like in New York, they film them in Canada or in London or like South America. You could film for what it would cost to shoot, like just to get people to set on a big Marvel movie that was shot in America. You could film for 3 days with that entire cast for the same amount of money overseas, like in London somewhere. It's stupidly expensive to film here, partly because of, you know, legislation, because of, you know, agreements with the unions, and like, you know, you make a great wage if you're on those movies, but the reality is like, you know, it's hard for a movie to make money now. So more movies are going overseas, which puts more pressure on the ones that are there to make money. And so they try to play it safer by, you know, letting the corporate, or the, what's the word? The committees write their films. So yeah, like the financial structure is backwards of you don't necessarily need to make a good movie to make yourself money. That's a big broken. I mean, we've talked about like how kind of a loss of morality or just a loss of belief in, you know, something more than just us plays into it. You know, there's not as many heroes nowadays. Yeah.
That's an interesting perspective. I never thought of that. Because there is so much that goes into making a movie that you could profit a lot of different ways in the process.
Yeah, it's like you know, probably in the podcast world, the podcasts that make the most money, I'm willing to bet they don't do it from like the views they get on Spotify. It's probably from the advertisements that play alongside their sponsorships and stuff. It's like that's almost how it is in almost every industry, where it's like you don't actually make money doing the thing that you want to do, that you actually love. It's like all the side stuff that props it up. Even Apple TV, like Severance right now. You watching Severance?
I'm not.
It's like the
Not
biggest.
yet.
It's like the biggest show in the world right now. People
Not
freaking
yet.
out. It surpassed Ted Lasso as the biggest show on Apple TV. Huge. So Apple TV. They've got Severance. They've got Ted Lasso. They've got Silo, which is really popular. They got Shrinking. They got all these popular shows that are killing it. Massive subscriber base. Apple loses like $1 billion a year on Apple TV. They don't just not make money from their TV shows, they lose money. But for them, they don't care, because we'll give you 3 free months of Apple TV if you buy an iPhone or you buy any Apple product. So for them,
Every time you buy a new product, yeah.
exactly. So for them, all that their shows are is just a way to sell more Apple devices. Like they're willing to lose, and they said like the $1 billion a year, it might even be $1 billion a quarter. That might be wrong. It's either a quarter or a year. The $1 billion that they lose every year or however long is still less than 1% of their company's total revenue. So they can just afford, they're just using TV and media as a way to sell more phones. And it's working. Like the Apple's TV shows, they're good.
They have Apple Fitness, Apple Games,
Right.
Apple, all this stuff that comes free for 3 months when you buy a phone.
And so like I don't blame you know, it's funny, like they're making that system work. And I don't know why. Like I guess you could say it takes pressure off of the artists. Like they're not under pressure to make like a profitable movie that's going to like appeal to all these demographics. They can just kind of make something that maybe they've got a little more freedom. I don't know the ins and outs of what it's like working with Apple TV. I do know that Ben Stiller, who is like the director of a lot of Severance and producer, he's like the company Lumen. He's like, yeah, we basically are just saying that this evil corporation is Apple, but we've never once gotten any flack from Apple. Like they're just like, yeah, man, go do it. We love it. And it's making them money. So yeah, like the industry's probably going to be changing. And I mean, YouTube now has a higher percentage of annual viewership than Netflix does. Like more people spend more time on YouTube than people do on Netflix. They just surpassed that. Creators are like, you know, opening their own studios, while Warner Brothers are like Dude Perfect and Mr. Beast are opening their own like massive studio complexes, while Warner Brothers and MGM are cutting and slashing and merging. Like the scene is changing. So that's honestly why, like right now I'm teaching tennis. I'm trying to get a job working on a ranch in Wyoming. I kind of just, and I'm making this movie in North Carolina just for fun, that maybe it'll go somewhere. And I think it will. I'm detached from the industry because I think it's in such a state of flux and upheaval. I just kind of want to see where it lands. And if it collapses, then I'll be there to start rebuilding something out of the rubble. Cause yeah, everything's changing right now.
I think we're in a very interesting time with life. Like, dude, think of like, especially the music industry. It was owned by labels.
Yeah.
You're seeing a lot of more independent musicians come out, release their music, control their music. And like, they're not getting a lot of numbers, but there's a lot of them. You know what I mean? Like that, like the movie industry. Is that something you ever see? Like, it's not going to be so top heavy anymore. It's going to be a lot of people like yourself release it. Cause like I could make a movie and put it on Prime.
Yeah. People don't realize
not gonna
that.
be.
Yeah, you can put a movie on Apple TV and on Amazon Prime, like on the TVOD platform itself. Like you don't need a distributor. They help. Like my distributor got me that airline deal. I never would have been able to get that. But yeah, what you're saying of like, is it going to become more democratic? It's already happening. Like there's a ton of indie production. The problem is, or one of the problems, we have so much content creation nowadays and we have not enough content curation. Like it's very hard. Like I have a very niche movie with Beyond the Lake. I'm gonna have another niche one with Faceless Land, but that one's gonna be easier to sell because it's action. It's hard to get those movies to the people that they like. Like think about the algorithm for Spotify. Like you like this song, they're gonna start playing you more songs like that. You find new bands. That really doesn't exist on the indie scene. Tubi and Freevee and AVOD platforms like that, they're helping. Like they've got a decent algorithm for that of like helping you find more movies that you might like. And I've actually got a segment today of some lesser known action movies that I think everyone should watch, and we'll get there. But yeah, so the curation is the one hard part. The other part is how expensive it is to film in the United States. Like if you want to make a movie for above $350,000, which doesn't buy as much as you would think, basically you have to work with the unions. Otherwise, they're going to tell people to like blacklist your film and not work on it, and you're going to get like a ton of pressure and some pretty scary tactics. So it's like your movie, as it grows in budget, it goes from like $100,000, $200,000, $300, $350, and then your next stop is like 1.2 million. There's nothing in between there because once you get to 350,000, if you want to afford the unions and all of the audits that go along with that and all of like their requirements and their riders and their pricing structures and their payouts, you need a full person whose full-time job is just dealing with paperwork. And that costs money. Like you're already paying for people, and then you got to pay more for all the infrastructure you got to stack on top of that. So unless you're doing what I'm doing, which is like, making something for dirt cheap, in North Carolina with your buddies, and you just happen to be really good at it and make it look like it costs $5 million, your options are limited as far as making a big movie that's going to garner attention. But I don't think you need to. I think, like I said, you can still do that. You can still make good stuff. If you're creative, you can compromise or you can be creative. I don't believe in compromise. I believe in creating solutions. So that's the other thing that makes it kind of harder for the independent scene to really shoot up, is because it's hard to grow as an indie because it's just hard to get that capital.
Well, people listening to you probably want to do this thing. They're like, man, I don't think I want to get into this or have my kids go into this. Like, what did you learn along your path here? You're seeing all this happen. Like, what keeps you listening to this? Is very easy to go, maybe filmmaking isn't the thing I want to do. Yeah, like, what keeps you going and still doing this? Like you say, you're doing it for fun, but like doing it for fun is shooting off my iPhone with my friends. Right. Like this is a little more than just fun. What keeps you in the game still? And what advice do you have for people looking to go, you know what? This is something I want to do. Like, and I want to do it the right way.
It's funny, man. So when you ask like what keeps you doing this, like I have my like inspiring answers of how I got into it and like how I feel I'm put on earth to make stories that, touch people's heart and, that are like transcendent and fill you with awe, and how I could talk about there's studies that have shown that like awe, the sense of like, whoa, is actually like good for people. Like people that were made to stand like under like really tall trees for 5 minutes, they registered more pro-social behavior. Like they became more helpful. They became less aggressive, more like friendly, more conscientious. They like made better choices more of the time. So I could say that like, yeah, it's important that I, help people experience awe because that's going to make people better people. I could say that I want to, and that's true. And I could say like, I want to like kind of make people think about their soul and the state of their soul through my movies, make them want to be better people and kind of connect them to God. That's also true. That's like the core of it. More often than not, it's just plain old stubbornness and relentlessness. Like more often than not, it's, at least nowadays, like I'm in the hard chapter right now just because of everything that happens. More often than not, it's like, I've come too far to give up now. Like there's this Eric Thomas quote I remember. I forget where he gave it, but he said, pain is temporary. It may last for a minute or an hour or a day or even a year, but eventually it will subside and something else will take its place. If I quit, however, it will last forever. And so I think about all I've gone through that I've made it to here. And even though like, yeah, I've got high expectations for myself, I could look back on a lot of things that were failures objectively that I thought were going to go better. I could think like, oh man, I thought I was going to be so much farther along than I was right now. I still think like I've come too far to give up now. If I give up now, then all of that time will have been for nothing. That's the big thing. And I think I've learned to, like I said, do it for its own sake. And I have to let go of expectations of like what is going to happen with me or for me or what people are going to do for me. I just got to do something that brings me joy. And if that takes off and I'm rewarded for that, great. But if not, at the end of the day, you know, I can say I still did what I wanted to do. I loved my life. I did it with people I enjoyed. And at the end of the day, that's, you know, I didn't sell out. I didn't do something that I hated or that hurt my soul just because I thought it would make me more money. Yeah, there's that poem I ended with last time of defeat.
Such a good poem.
Yeah,
man.
I love that one. The guy that wrote that has another bit called The Prophet. And it's this bit where people are asking this prophet questions. And this poet asks the prophet, he says, speak to us of beauty. And the prophet says, where shall you seek beauty? And how will you find her, lest she herself be your guide? And how will you speak of her, lest she herself be the weaver of your speech? And when I heard that for the first time, it made me think, like, the way that I go about this is not beautiful. Like, so much of my life, I hate what I'm doing. I hate how I'm doing it. I'm making this, you know, it's grueling, and my soul is just dead with all that I have to see, all this stuff I've been talking about, how broken the industry is. Just like, if I want to communicate beauty to people through my movie or make them feel that sense of awe, if I'm not getting there that way, I can't put into a movie something that I don't have myself. You know, I can't communicate something that I've never felt. And so it became more important. That's why I'm making this movie the way I am now, of like, we're shooting like 3 days at a time. We go back to our lives, we save up a little money, we go back, we shoot some more. We're doing that. It's hard, it's challenging, it requires a lot of work, but it's fun. And that fun comes through the screen in the shot. And I haven't always been able to say that. Same thing, the film you watched at the start of this episode, Polaroid, had a blast making that. There was so much fun. Had a great time, worked hard, and that fun, that energy, it came through the screen. Not all my movies have had that. And so that kind of changed the way I went about it. Of, I have to do this in a way that like protects the thing, that feeling. However I do that, I can't sacrifice that feeling. Like I can't, or that my success can't come at the expense of that feeling. Otherwise, I'm just going to be making an empty, angry, soulless movie. So yeah, that's what keeps me going. Is just like, I'm just going, and I'm not expecting to get anywhere. As funny as that sounds,
It's interesting. That's wow.
Yeah. And dude, me from 2 years ago would have been cursing at the screen if I were watching me like, what the? No, you can't say that. But you ever watch like interviews with people like Matthew McConaughey, or like people when you interview people, or when someone's interviewed, it almost makes it sound like they were trying not to have the success that they had. Like Matthew McConaughey's like, I just kind of wandered onto the set one day. It was like, all right. And now I'm here. Yeah. Like, it's like they weren't even trying. Yeah. They were just doing something that they loved. And the gods of success, you know, Lady Fortuna saw fit to bless them. So if I get that blessing too, excellent. I'm going to keep doing that. And if not, then okay.
And I feel like that's the most important thing in what you're doing.
Yeah, because I think you won't last if you're waiting for like that ship to come in. And if that's the only reason you're doing it, yeah, you're never going to last.
Well, that what is winning, right? Winning, like when you've gotten there. Winning is the entire process. Getting there is just like a bonus, because winning is not permanent.
Yeah.
Like once you win, quote unquote, boom, it's gone. Now you got to win again. And if you didn't enjoy that process, it's going to suck. It's going to be harder. Yeah. It's going to, like, the hunter doesn't love the kill. They love the hunt. The hunt.
Yeah.
And then the kill was like okay.
Yeah.
You know, because perfect metaphor. I talk to hunters all the time. Like, I work with a lot of hunters. And they're like, oh, I didn't get anything. But when they're when they're telling the story of them going out, setting up their tree stand, their blind, sitting there, tracking, doing all this stuff, they're so passionate about the process. And it's like, oh, I didn't get anything today. And in my mind, I'm like, why are you still doing it? You hunt all season for one animal. And it's like, well, because if I get it. Oh. And then you get it. Dude, I was with one of my best friends growing up. Got into hunting. He pulled his bow back. He started crying. Ooh. And I'm like, what is going on? And he hit. Deer went down. He started bawling. And I'm like, what? And he's like, dude, I got one. Oh, man. And like, I didn't understand what was going on. I'm like, why are you hunting and crying? But like, he had learned on his own. You know, went out, and finally, like, it was in front of him, and he's like, "This is it." Mm-hmm. And then he was like excited before it even happened, but he saw the ending so close. He saw like, this is what I've been looking for. Nails it. just starts the adrenaline release. And that's not something I'm like hunting. I'm so bored during hunting. It's not for me. But like he's crying and he's like shaking. And I'm like,
Yeah.
dude, are you good? He's like, dude, I got one. And he just did it and kept, and then, you know, and then next time he just kept going. But it's that process that like he thoroughly loved and enjoyed the process of hunting. And when he got it, it's like, you won. Now it's over.
Yeah.
But he loved the process so much. He's like, I'm going to do it again. And I'm going to do it again. If you don't love the process, the ending is not as good. Like you mentioned earlier, like people talk about this success, right? And then you get it. And then it's like, if you didn't do it with good intention, you didn't enjoy the process. Once you get it, it's like, here we are.
Yeah.
Like this sucked getting here. Why would I want to do it again? Because it pays well. Okay, I'll go. And then the process is lowered, the quality is lowered, and the winnings are lowered. They don't feel the same. And then you're an empty shell at the end of the whatever you're doing.
I got another poem for you.
Let's go.
You might have heard this one. This changed the way I saw a lot of life. It's called The Man in the Glass. You might have heard of it. Some people might have heard of it. When you get what you want in your struggle for self, and the world makes you king for a day, go to the mirror and look at yourself and see what that man has to say. For it isn't your father or mother or wife whose judgment upon you must pass. The fellow whose verdict counts most in your life is the one staring back from the glass. Some people may call you a straight-shooting chum and call you a wonderful guy, but the man in the glass says you're only a bum if you can't look him straight in the eye. He's the one you must please, never mind all the rest, for he's with you clear to the end, and you have passed your most dangerous test if the man in the glass is your friend. You may face the whole world down the pathway of life and get pats on the back as you pass, but your final reward will be heartache and strife if you've cheated the man in the glass.
So I love having you on. Dude, but how many of us are doing something at the expense of our sanity? At the expense of our mental health?
Yeah.
At the expense of our soul. Yeah.
There's a writer, I think it was not Solzhenitsyn. It was a Russian writer. Maybe it was Tolstoy. This Russian writer, he spent a lot of time, maybe it was Tolstoy. Either way, Russian writer spent a lot of time in a political prison, and he was facing execution. He was being sent to a firing squad. Literally, they tied him to the post. They took the ready aim. His execution got caught off at the last second, and he was released. But he said, as he was standing there waiting to die, he thought to himself, how many hours did I sin against my soul by denying myself the life that I was meant for? And that concept of like, how many times did I sin? I think about like, how many times did I sin against my soul staying up looking through Instagram? How many times did I sin against my soul knowing I didn't like this job of, typing numbers on a screen? How many times did I sin against my soul doing neither what I wanted nor what I ought to do in a time? And he said like that changed his life because he's like, I'm not wasting any more time. I'm living the life. Like Epicurus said, like, how long will it take until you start demanding the best for yourself?
And why is death the thing that gets us there? When we have those near death experiences or that flash moment, we're like, man, why did I do this? Or why am I doing this?
I don't know.
In everything, dude, like in relationships, in your jobs. And it's like, once it's gone or perceived to be gone, you're like, man, I should have did this, or I shouldn't have done this. Yes, let's get there now.
Yeah.
Like when this episode ends, sit in your car or in your room or wherever you're listening, look in the mirror and be like, am I doing what I want to be doing, what I should be doing?
Yeah. And what's the worst that could happen if you did do the thing? Like,
you learn a lot.
You learn a lot, even if you fail. Like, okay, go back to your job. Like, is there anything you really couldn't survive? Is there anything you couldn't say, like, whatever happens, I'll find a way to handle it? Like, like you said, like, if death is the ultimate thing, I think Thucydides said, or maybe it was a Japanese guy said, until death, all defeat is psychological. It's like, if it's like, if I did leave my job, go pursue this thing, like, what's the very worst that could happen? And is there any failure so preposterously huge that I couldn't smooth it out and get back to a quote unquote normal life, like within a year? Like, answer's probably no.
You win or you learn.
Yeah, I've been on one heck of a learning streak.
Yeah,
lately.
but dude, think of it. If you approach life that way, things that way,
Yeah.
win or learn, you never lose.
Yeah.
You know, you learn a lot about what
never
you're
lose.
doing,
That's a good point.
and you move differently.
What do you think about guys like Floyd Mayweather or people who are like Khabib, who are like undefeated? Like if they never lose, when did they? But they clearly they learned sometime. Like how do you? Because I've thought about that.
Mayweather is it's a topic for discussion because of how he went, and he would tell you flat out, like he would like, I'm not here. I'm here to win.
Yeah.
I'm not here to prove to make a show, give an interesting fight. Like he was there to win. You know, and that's why people are like, you never fought a real, or the way when you did fight a real fighter, like you just ran and dodged. And it's like he made it very clear he wasn't he wasn't there for showboating, which he would showboat, but he wasn't there to provide a show for the fans. He wasn't there for the love of it. He was there to win and make money. So you can see in his approach, that's what he did. Khabib, he wasn't a flashy fighter.
No.
He wasn't an quote unquote entertaining fighter. His strength was wrestling.
Yeah.
And that's what he would do. And he was there to win. You know, and even in his close calls, that's what he would use to, but his strength was wrestling. You know, so like he stuck to what he knew. They did all their learning in the gyms, in training, in preparation, and you know, so like learning happens
As opposed to guys
different-
like Chael Sonnen or Michael Bisping, who like their average opponent was like Anderson Silva or like a title fight. I feel like they're so much better fighters than we think they are,
yeah,
just because they picked the hardest opponents.
dude. I had a guest on here, Carly. She's a fighter. You probably know her.
I know her from Stout,
yeah,
right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, she's at Math Factory,
Okay.
but
Oh, is it like ponytails on both sides? I
yeah,
know I
she's-
filmed her at
she's
some
Justin,
point.
She's with Justin Patton.
Oh,
The-
glasses
Yeah,
kind of.
the dynamic duo. We
Yes.
call them.
Oh, no. Yeah, she was with me at when it was still the Academy.
She picks undefeated fighters.
Oh, jeez.
So like, what does that say about her learning? You're gonna win or learn.
Yeah.
She's intentionally going against the grain to build herself because she wants to be at a certain level. And her like, so if she loses a fight, are you like, oh, she sucks? No, she's a fucking beast.
Yeah.
But like in life, we're going to experience his downfalls. We're going to experience his quote unquote loss. But what you do with that determines your outcome. And this is so funny to me. Like, I hate this job. I hate this job. What I'm doing. I want to be doing this. Okay, you quit this job. It's hard to pay bills. You're in this limbo. You shoot for this job. But in this process, you're thinking, man, I shouldn't have quit. Now I can't pay my bills. Oh, my life kind of sucks right now. I can't travel. I can't do this. Like I had steady income. Like it sucks, right? This sucks. You're losing, quote unquote. Then you get the job you wanted. And guess what? You don't have the job you want where you're making more money or doing what you love or whatever the benefits are of that. You're not having that job and going, man, I shouldn't have quit that job. No, you're like, I'm so freaking glad I quit. I'm so glad I went through that. I'm so glad I couldn't pay my bills because I'm here now doing what I want to do with the people I want to be with, making the money I want to make, whatever it is that I am so glad I went through that process because I'm here now. You're not going in your, let's say you're a lawyer, right? You're a lawyer. You get into the firm you want, you make partner, but to get there, you lost relationships, you lost friends, you
Lost some sanity.
You lost some sanity.
John Varys.
Like, you know, and all that, the stuff you lost was a part of this growing process, building you to be where you are now, as long as you went about it the right way, right? You're here now. You're not sitting there like, I love where I'm at. I shouldn't have quit that job though. No. You're like, I'm so glad I did this. I'm so glad I did this. It sucked. I understand that.
Yeah.
But I needed to go through that process to be where I am today.
Yeah, it's funny when I talk to people who like are in what I call smart people jobs, like accountants or bankers or finance people or engineer. Like I love talking to those people because again, I came from that STEM background, And like, I'm fascinated by like, oh man, what's it like to just have all that extra cash around? Like, what's it like to like have such a cool lifestyle and, you know, be able to travel whenever you want, go wherever you want. And they're just like, yeah, it's okay. But what is it like to get to make movies and get to do stuff like that? It's interesting how, you know, like where the grass is greener. I think they say, like, my favorite quote is like, the grass is greener where you water it.
Yeah.
To your point. It's like, yeah, it's where you put it.
It's where you do that. And that's true. And it's extreme, but like to get to where you want to be, you got to be extreme. You didn't accidentally, like Khabib didn't accidentally become undefeated fighter.
Yeah.
Mayweather didn't accidentally become an undefeated boxer. You know, Bezos didn't accidentally become a billionaire.
Yeah.
Like, it requires suck and grit and a process that's going to build you and shape you and care. However you feel about these people, you cannot take away. They did things that were hard to get to where they're at. It wasn't by mistake. You know, like, you don't wake up one day with $1 million in your account and go, oops, how did I make $1 million? No.
It's probably a boring process by the time you're there. You're like, oh, that was just this, and you don't think about it.
But you know, when it does become that moment of like, oh, how did I get here? When you're coming about the right way, you're doing what needs to be done, your head's down, you're grinding, you're putting in the hours, and then one day you get up and you're like, damn, how did I get here? I get like that. Like, I know this isn't the greatest thing or whatever, but like, I was traveling to people's houses and gyms and going to their places, setting up, tearing down. It sucked, but I enjoyed it. It was a part of the process.
Yeah.
Now I have a studio that I just show up to, click the cameras on, and I like, sometimes I take it for granted. And like, when people like you come in, you're like, dude, like, this is so cool. And I'm like, man, this is cool.
But it wouldn't have been this cool if this is where you started with like some grant or endowment. Like, the fact that you did 80, however many episodes before you got the studio, like, that journey is what makes this as cool and as meaningful as it is.
And I will never take that for granted, because it's like, man, I am here.
Yeah.
I did do, like, this is cool. And then that process sucked. Having to drive 50 minutes to someone, set up in their basement, you know, hey, do you have tables? Do you have a chair? Like, doing all that. Like, I loved it, but it was hard.
Yeah, and that's such a good point. Like, you asked, you know, what keeps you going? That's the thing, is if you don't love it for its own sake, you won't make it, because it probably didn't feel like work. Well, not that it didn't feel like grind when you were in it. It's only looking back that you're like, oh wow, that was kind of miserable.
That was tough.
Looking back on like the movies I've made, or like, you know, so there's this, so we got the Jiu Jitsu crowd. I got Jiu Jitsu on my shirt right here. That's what this means. The coolest Jiu Jitsu fight that you'll ever see in any movie is actually, I think it's one from one of my short films called The Control Room. And there's like a different movie for like what's the best jiu-jitsu movie. We'll talk about that. But there's this fight scene I have in a movie that's like the best thing of jiu-jitsu. And I've got that fight, and I've got a behind the scenes of how we shot it that I'll tie back into it. But like, when we were making that movie, so much went into it, and we did it in like a record amount of time for like almost no money. When I look back on that now, I'm like, how the hell did I ever think I was going to be able to pull that off? Like, that's impossible. Like, 7 days for that money to shoot all of that I was going to build that room. Like, how did I ever think that was possible? But it's almost like, you know, I guess my advice for people starting out in anything would be start while you're still too stupid not like to do so. Because if you want to find a reason why it's not going to work, you'll be right. If you want to find a reason why you can't do it, whether it's I don't have the money, I don't have the time, I never had any people believe in me, my parents weren't there for me, my city didn't provide for me, I don't have money, I lost my job, no one loves me, like,
correct.
Yeah, if you want to find, yes, you are right. And the thing that I've always said to myself in those moments is, do you want to be right or do you want to win? Do you want to be right or do you want to win? Do you want to be, yeah, you can say, yeah, I wasn't able to do it because of this. Yes, you'll be right. Or you can have the success and the results that comes from that. So yeah, I guess that's probably best advice I can give is start while you're still too stupid to do so.
Dude, someone told me, they're like, do it. Whatever you want, do it. In a year, you'll have a year of excuses or a year of results.
I like that.
And I'm like,
I like that a lot.
Yeah. I mean, that makes sense. And whatever you want to start jiu-jitsu, do it.
Yeah. Just
next week, you're going to
tap to leg lock. So you're not limping in the studio like me.
Or don't go against 3 guys and you won't tear your meniscus like me. That was a learning moment.
What, a 3-on-1?
Yeah, it was for a training.
Was it for anti-fragile?
It was the EFC. Effective Fitness Combatives, Jay Wadsworth.
Oh, okay.
They did nothing wrong. I have to say that Jay's a great guy, great curriculum. I got a little excited and tried to pin 2 dudes down, and one dude had my leg, and the other dude came, and instead of rolling with it, I was like, I can take this guy too. You should see how they ended up. No, I lost that one, but like, yeah, that was a good time. Definitely take it especially if you're a cop.
Yeah.
But if you want to do something, do it. Like you have nothing else to do.
Yeah.
You know, like I was talking to someone my last episode, and I had a Layshawk on here, and he's very matter of fact, and like love him or hate him, he tells it like it is. And if you listen to what he's saying, you're like, it makes sense. And he said fighters today don't have the all or nothing attitude. You know, like when he was growing, when he was surrounding himself with fighters, dude left his family, left his home, sold everything, lived in a car, went to go just to train and fight. Can that dude lose? He's lost everything.
Yeah. Nowhere else to go.
That's his
Success
he's going
is the only
100%.
option.
Yeah. You're fighting that dude, or you're fighting a dude who is making $1 million a year in his corporate job, has a beautiful family, beautiful kids. Like he has a lot to lose. He may tap a lot sooner than this dude who's like, you're going to have to break my arm because I have nothing after this fight. This dude has $1 million house, family. You know, if you break his arm, he can't really go into the office. Like, which one?
I guess it comes down to why you're fighting. Like, victory has many forms. Like, if that dude with the $1 million family, like, if he's just like, hey, I want to have the experience of just being a fighter for a bit, even if I lose every fight, like, if that's his goal, then he's winning.
He is winning.
You know, it's like, it goes back to that conversation of like, are you doing it because you love it, or are you doing it because you want a result? Like, if fighting is what you love, if that's the only language you could speak with love, and like, you have to win, if you make that your thing that you have to, that you kind of build your life or your identity around, then yeah, you're gonna go all in. But if you're fighting just because you want to have that experience, you want to know what that's like.
That's so perfect.
You're winning too. Even
2 people.
That's
can
what
win
I'm trying to do right now. Is like, how do I find a way to, again, like make sure that I'm still getting a life that is like a full life, because I've had the mentality of like all or nothing before. And it definitely gets you very far. But again, I guess, at least in my career,
like, what is it that you want? I guess it's like, that's what it boils down to. If this guy,
and in my career, like, perspective is so important. So if I spend my whole life grinding in a studio, it's this weird catch-22 where like the harder I work at like just film, it's almost like the less I have to say. And as an artist, I need to have stuff to say. I need to have, you can't be an artist you can't be a painter that lives their whole life in a studio. You can't talk about love if you never experience love in all its many forms, or you can't talk about beauty if the inside of an office is the only thing you see. So like, it's a little different when you're an artist, I think, because you have to balance that work ethic and that drive and that discipline with, the seemingly inconsequential things or the seemingly frivolous, because that's the kind of stuff that people, at least in entertainment and film, they want to come to your movie to see. Like, imagine if I only ever studied like filmmaking and camera techniques and never learned Jiu Jitsu. You'd never see this fight scene, which you're about to see here, which I guess, since I referenced it twice, let's go to our next clip. This is, we'll talk in a second about like, it's this 4-wall fight in conclusion. We'll talk in a second. I've brought a list with me of the best movies you can watch for like whatever your favorite martial art is. So that'll be fun. If you're someone that loves Muay Thai, I got a Muay Thai recommendation for you. Like, this is the best Muay Thai ever. If you love Jiu Jitsu, I got the best Jiu Jitsu movie ever. Boxing, Filipino martial arts, like the stuff that they teach to cops and Navy SEALs. We'll get into that. But the best Jiu Jitsu fight you will ever see in any movie is this fight right here. This is from one of my short films called The Control Room. You can watch it on my website, filmingdom.com. And the premise in this fight is that these 2 characters, she's kind of like a test subject in this secret government black site where they basically torture people to unlock dormant superpowers. And so both these 2, Catherine and my character, Isaac, we both have the ability to control the direction of gravity. And she's starting to realize that like, oh, I can't trust this guy. I got to get out of here. And scene. Move that. Move that mouse off here.
Gavin, please let me do this.
Okay. We teach that in policing.
Oh yeah?
Yeah.
Overplotted. You can pause it there. So I remember I was filming this and I was choreographing this actually back when I was training at the academy. And I remember the first day I came in after we filmed this, I had this on my film. I showed it to Patton. And I forget what exactly he said. He's like, well, what the fuck? When they go that first fall, and I think he said something like, dude, I picked the wrong day to come in high, man. I don't know what I just watched.
It's how.
So this is another one where there's no CGI, no computers. What you saw basically would have mirrored almost what you saw in real life. So yeah, so how did we go from the floor to the wall to the ceiling to the wall back to the floor? Obviously, I cannot actually control gravity. That would be awesome. But if you pull up, I'll show you the behind the scenes, behind the camera. If you go to Hate Me Too BTS right there. Yeah. So before you press play, this is the set that you're seeing. If you look over on the left there, you can actually see on the TV, that's the same set. I built this rig for a music video for a band called The Ghost Club, a great local Pittsburgh artist. He's doing really well. He's got some really great music. Love his stuff. So this was their third music video. I remember Dom, who's actually, I think he's back there behind Noah. He was helping spin the room. He came to me one day. He's like, yo, dude, for our next video, can we do something like Inception? I'm like, you mean like walking on a hallway wall ceiling? I was like, yeah. And keep in mind, these are like music videos we were doing for like $1,500 a pop. Like it's like, whatever we can do for this, let's do it. I'm like, yeah, let me figure this out. So I go home. I Googled DIY Inception. And I see these guys at a church in Alabama. They built a little something like this and they got the effect. So me and my buddy Ethan back here, this is a bank in Bridgeville. We built this in the lobby of an old bank in like 6 days. And we shot this on the 7th day. So the way this works, you go ahead and press play. I'll narrate it. Is this entire room spins. Actually, do me a favor, mute it just so the audio doesn't get polluted. Yeah, because I'll talk over this. Yeah. So this entire room. Oh, hey, shut up, Dom. I'm trying to talk here.
Guess we gotta mute it.
Oh,
on
the TV,
here.
yeah. There we go. So this entire room spins like a big tumble dryer. You can see the bed, the furniture, it's all drilled into the floor. This is the camera right here. That's drilled into the ceiling. So it makes it look like the actor over there is stepping on the ceiling and he's walking on the walls, when in reality, it's the entire set and the camera rotating around him. So like he is always on the ground and it's the whole environment that's moving around him. It's not him going around the room because the camera is locked in place. The perspective never changes. Like we're controlling the perspective. So it makes it look like he's walking around the room when in reality, the whole room is going around that. So I built this guy for a music video. And of course, while I had that, I was like, okay, there's no way I can have this and not make a short film in it. So I called up a bunch of my buddies. I was like, yo, guys, I've got this room and I've got like a month. Do you want to make a short? I called a bunch of my friends. They're like, yeah, hell yeah. There's no way you cannot take advantage of that. So I wrote this sci-fi script, The Control Room, and was like, yeah, we're going to do some cool action in it. And I wanted to really show off like just what this looked like. So going back to that jiu-jitsu fight, that fight was originally a lot more striking based and we were still going to use all the walls. But the day before we'd had one of the stunts go a little bit sideways and I was a little bit more edgy this day. I was a lot more safety conscious. So I stayed up the whole night before we shot and I re-choreographed that fight so that anytime we're switching walls, Sarah, the actress I was performing with, I was either holding her head or she was landing on me. That way, like if anybody did get hurt, it would be me because, you know, I'm fine with that. It took us 22 takes, 22 attempts to get one successful pass all the way through that whole fight. So there's no cuts or anything. We had to do it like, and
one take.
yeah. And Ethan right there, he was waiting basically where I was. Like, so we're performing the fight in there. He was waiting for cues in the choreography. So like there's Ethan, there's me and Sarah in this room. There's Ethan back here kind of like in the director's chair. I directed the film, but he was just kind of watching this scene. And then there's all these guys that are getting ready to flip the room. That's a heavy guy. That thing is super heavy. So basically he was waiting for cues in the choreography. Like as soon as do me a favor, go back to the fight and I'll call him out. Yeah. So if you go back to like maybe 20 seconds in. Yeah, right here. That's good.
Mute or no mute?
Don't, you can leave it muted. Yeah, so she does that. So the minute we start, we got these beats and he's going to wait for cues in the choreography. So the first one was, okay, as soon as I wrap up that guillotine choke, I'm going to block her with my knee. As soon as I wrap up that guillotine choke right here, boom, he flips the room. And now this is on the bottom. So we step here. So, okay, as soon as I step my foot up again, throw the room again. Boom. So pause it. So you can actually see, do me a favor, like scroll back to like when we're on the wall. Can you, if you use the arrow keys, does it like let you go back frame? Yeah. Okay. So right here. So keep going back. Keep going back. So we are, it's actually pretty impressive on Sarah's part. All right. So at this point right here, this is still the bottom. This is the surface that's like gravity based. As soon as I step this foot up again, that was his cue to flip the room. So you'll watch Sarah's feet actually plant on the floor. Okay. And so now, keep going. You can keep scrolling. Yeah. So around here, you're going to see her feet kind of lock onto the floor. And she's basically, there's a second where she's almost completely holding me up, like as I'm kind of in this, like, keep hitting it. Yeah. Yeah. So like we're starting to turn. So now she is standing up and I'm just kind of, you can see me starting to fall. And then she does this throw motion. I let go, making it look like she changed gravity. So that's kind of how this whole fight worked, was a very delicate dance between the timing of the choreography. The timing had to be just right so that it made it look like we were throwing the room, or we're changing gravity, and not that, you know, the room was throwing us. So yeah, we got that take done. And
dude, that is wild.
It was like we were cheering so hard. We were in there for 45 minutes. Like all this shit is not supposed to be here. That was like from my shoes every time they'd scuff the wall. Originally, we were having people come in with like magic erasers and try to scrub it off. But after 3 takes, we're like, yeah, no, that's going to take way too long. So,
this isn't our first fight in this room. We'll just go with that.
No, yeah. So back to the point I was making earlier about like, you know, having to have experiences outside of the grind. If I had only ever focused on filmmaking and never took the time to like learn Jiu Jitsu, I never would have been able to make something that cool, something that's that like different. I would only be recycling other content from other filmmakers, which unfortunately is, I think, what a lot of artists are doing nowadays, is they never take the time to have experiences outside of their quote unquote art. So like imagine being a painter who never saw outside of his studio. He would have nothing to paint. You know, imagine being a filmmaker who never like got stories or who never had stuff to make films about. That's another like kind of piece of advice for artists, is you got to make sure that it's, especially if you want to be like, you know, someone in a creative capacity, you got to have more than just your words. You got to have something to say. And having experiences outside of the art gives you that.
I guess that makes sense. But I would argue that's all in, right? Like if you want to make amazing film, you need to experience amazing life.
Yeah, and I didn't get that because I was so, originally in my younger career, I was so focused on, I got to grind, I got to work, my hobbies are only going to be stuff that'll have to do with film and action and stuff, and I'm gonna like read all these books, not because I want to read them, but because like they'll make me a better filmmaker, and I'm gonna make these movies not because I want to make them, because that's what filmmakers do. And I didn't realize what you just said until like, you know, embarrassingly late in life, and now I'm kind of not shifting gears, but I'm opening up more of my horizons as I keep on working and keep on making movies to like expand my own just horizons in terms of the experiences I've had, the places I've been, the things I've seen, so that I can be, you know, have more perspective than just what I get in like a day-to-day life. Yeah,
man. I think that's what makes, especially with film, man, when you talk about people, like I told you before we started filming, I love the behind the scenes, right? Because you see this finished product.
Do I have any more behind the scenes stuff up there?
Well, you tell me, brother.
Let's see. Cletus, Tannerite. Oh, yeah, that's everything.
Yeah, well, we're going to talk some behind the scenes.
Oh, yeah,
I
we
guess.
got more to, huh? Oh, yeah, guys, I got to share movies.
I just want to take a second to shout out a few companies who believed in me. These were one of our first official sponsors, so huge shout out. Today's episode is proudly sponsored by Carbo Jewelers, established in 1997 on the values of honesty and integrity. Whether you're searching for the perfect piece, need expert repair services, visit Carbo Jewelers in Newark's Ironbound District, where your jewelry is always in safe hands. This episode is also brought to you by Continental Jewelers, proudly serving Hudson County, New Jersey since 1964. Whether you're seeking a timeless piece or need expert repairs, they've got you covered. Visit Continental Jewelers, your trusted source for all things jewelry. You can find them on Instagram at Carbo Jewelers or online at carbojewelers.com. Lastly, big shout out to Carbo Trading. Besides coins, precious metals, and jewelry, if it could be traded and collected, he's probably got it. They can be found on Instagram at carbo.trading. You can find all of our sponsors out online on our sponsor page at therelentlessproject.com.
What do we got next? You want to like hop in with something specific?
So like a lot of the behind the scenes, like you've obviously worked a lot of cool things. This scene, like it's cool to see the dynamic movement of it's spinning, but as you're watching the screen, it's like you're being thrown around. It's cool.
Yeah, and that's actually when we talked about how I started in engineering and then I switched to film. When I first got to film school, I was not sure that like this is what I was supposed to do because I went to a STEM high school. Like I was grade ahead in math and science, captain of the robotics team, like all that. I thought that there were STEM high schools and there were regular high schools. When I got to film school and there's people who went to like acting and performance high schools, like, wait, you went to high school for acting? Like that's a thing? So I was going up against these kids that like had been doing this seriously, like way, way longer than I had been. So I'm like, I don't know if I can hack it here. So I just told myself like, I'll do it for a year as if it's my God-given purpose. Nothing else matters. And if I'm still unsure, at the end of that year, I'll go back to engineering. And obviously it didn't take that long. I found that I love it. And one of the reasons is because I'm like, all right, how can I use my engineer brain to kind of set myself apart as a filmmaker? How can I use that to do things that like other people can't do? And what you just saw, the control room, that's probably the biggest example of being like, all right, no one else can, like when I say I built that, I don't mean like I hired someone to build it. I mean, like I designed it, these hands, put the wood up, drilled it together, jacked it up, got it on the rollers, like built that literally. So it's like, how can I do stuff like that the artists, other people who are just doing art, like they can't do? And so that's how I kind of set myself apart in film school is they're like, all right, Dom's going to do something freaking massive that's going to look like it cost $1 billion, but he did it like in his backyard.
And that's what I personally appreciate with the behind the scenes is I was getting into, like when I watch an amazing movie, it's amazing, or even average movie. I like to dig into hey, how did this come to be? Like that, I'm that kind of person.
Yeah.
I think a lot of people have gotten to that, especially nowadays with social media, right? Like we get a musician or an actor or a project or this podcast, but people will listen to it or watch it if they know the person behind it and what it took to get there.
Yeah.
I think that's why podcasts have become so popular because like if an actor gets on a podcast, it'll take off. Why? It's because he's a great actor, but it's also like, oh, like what does he think? How does he move? Like who is this person in this movie?
Kind of want to know who's making it.
It's become like people like the behind the scenes now because they want to like follow the person behind the project.
It's funny. The best show I've ever been on in terms of like behind the scenes, what it was like to be there. I'm trying to think if I can. I know I can't say the name publicly, like until it comes out. You know the show.
Yeah.
If you're watching, you know the show. It's been the biggest show on TV or out there. If I say the studio, it's gonna be a dead giveaway.
No, we'll keep it.
So
anonymous.
it's here. Just I'll pretend it's. Can you bleep this?
I'll bleep this.
Okay.
I'll make sure to bleep this.
Okay. So it's.
I'll bleep that. Let me. Yeah.
Okay. It was one of the first like mini roles I got when I moved down to Atlanta. I don't play like a talking character. I'm a featured extra, which is like a background character that directly interacts with the main character or with a main character. So I'm like front and center in one of the scenes. I was playing like a soldier and we're going into that place in the show. Like the show takes place, the main part of the show, then there's the other place it takes place.
I can't. I want to say like a joke, but the joke will
Exactly.
be.
Yeah, I know. Oh, it's funny.
Give it away.
Okay, well, I'm going to share the joke that I said, and it might give it away, but I don't think they can sue me for that because people actually have been sued for like when we got there, they made us. You ever been to like a comedy show where they make you put your phone in like a black bag and you can't take it out?
I was on a Hulu show. I don't think I made the cut, but it was you have to sign all these non-disclosures and this, and like we were able to have our phones, but we weren't able to have our phones in like the filming area.
Mm-hmm. So before we even got to set, they had us put our phone in this sealed bag that blocked the microphone. It blocked all the cameras. It was clear at some parts. You could still use it, but like it literally had to be cut out by like a knife at the end of the day so that no one could take any pictures, no one could record anything. And they're already suing people who have like talked openly about the show, about making it. Again, people who are extras, they're in litigation just because they're trying to keep such a tight lid on it. But this show, it was the most amazing like visual experience I've ever had. So I was playing a Vietnam era soldier, Private Diapoli. It's funny, I was Italian in both real life and the show. I was playing Private Diapoli, and we were escorting one of the main characters through the other place. Like we're going in there, and you know how that place looks. And when I tell you, especially like when we were doing the scenes, the first scene we did was we were just opening a door, basically breaching and clearing the main lobby of the lab in the other place, like that version of the lab, clearing this lab. And again, I'm in like me and all the other characters, full like head to toe, period accurate military kit. I've got a helmet, I got boots, got all these layers of jackets. I've got a rifle, pistol, grenades, belt. There were 3 different people who came around. One had special dirt for my hands and fingernails. One had special dirt for my face. And another had special dirt for my elbows, shoulders, and knees. Like 3 different kinds of dirt people to make sure that even like an extra like me looked like to the nines all the way across the board. I was probably the only guy in there that didn't have like I had at least like military or tactical experience. It was a lot of like former military, former police officers. That's actually how I met Levi, who was in the Faceless Land clip. But when I tell you that there were moments during the scenes, there wasn't anywhere around me that I could look that would betray the fact that I was in a TV show. Like that is how high the level of production value was. Like there was like the black things going everywhere. There was dust, there was concrete, there was flashing lights. Every single place around me was art decked like almost all the way. There were moments I was having a hard time not smiling because I was like, this is so cool.
Yeah,
I'm like a freaking kid. And they kept on talking about, as we were rehearsing the first shot, what they do is with all and this is across the board, the industry does this. When they have a shot like with a very like high caliber actor or actress or very important person, a main character, they'll rehearse the shot with the crew and some stand-ins, like people whose job it is to like help the camera get ready. So they'll rehearse a bunch with the stand-ins. Then once everything is like perfectly polished and ready to go, then they'll bring the real actors in. They'll take the place of the stand-ins. They'll get their blocking, and then they'll do the scenes so like their time isn't being wasted. So I had a couple stand-ins.
Blows my mind.
Yeah.
Blows my mind.
There's people who make a whole career, a very well-paying career, just out of being a stand-in because they have to look like roughly kind of like the person they're standing in for. So like I know the guy who is Lawrence Fishburne's stand-in when he would do some of his shows like Where'd You Go, Bernadette, or I think Last Flag Flying he did in Pittsburgh. The guy who does all Lawrence Fishburne stand-in stuff like on the East Coast because he looks like him, same build, same complexion. That's what they do. So we were rehearsing this first shot with the stand-ins, and they kept on. Another thing that the film industry they'll do is they'll give things names that like refer to famous moments in films. So apple boxes or apple crates, they're these little wooden boxes that you can basically use to make things slightly taller or shorter. There's like a quarter one, a half one, and a full. You can put C-stands on them. You can have actors stand on them sometimes if you need to like adjust someone's height.
I need that.
Some people do. Famous case in point, the Casablanca. You seen Casablanca?
Yeah.
Yeah, so iconic movie. Ingrid Bergman, who played the female lead in the movie, she was actually like 6 inches taller than Humphrey Bogart. But, you can't have like a romantic era movie where the masculine lead is shorter than like the swooning damsel. So that whole set, they actually built the set with like trenches running through it that Ingrid Bergman would walk in. It's like she had to walk through things so that Humphrey Bogart would be taller than her in all the scenes. Anywhere that they were standing, they were always doing that. So with those Apple boxes, they'll give them names. Like I think a short one, it's probably changed. When I was in film school, I think like the shortest one was called a Bruce Willis. The medium one was called, I forget what the medium one was called, and they call the highest one the Tom Cruise, because Tom Cruise is pretty short as well. So they'll name shots, like anytime a camera like starts low and like circles around a character looking up at them, we call that a Michael Bay shot, because it's a very iconic from all like Bad Boys or from, you know, The Rock or from the Transformer movie. They call it a Michael Bay shot. So they kept on, the directors or the DPs, they kept on referencing the Linda Hamilton shot. Linda Hamilton being the actress who played Sarah Connor in the Terminator movies. They kept saying like, oh, the Linda Hamilton shot, the Linda Hamilton shot. I'm like, okay, maybe they're gonna do like a shot like something from Terminator. That's probably what they're referring to. But then they bring the actual cast in, and all of a sudden, actual Linda Hamilton is standing next to me. I was like, oh, like Linda Hamilton. So I'm standing next to Sarah Connor, like, oh shoot, this is kind of cool. And so we do this scene again. We're rushing through a lobby, mind you, way too fast to be an actual clear. Like all the TAC guys are saying, like, we would never clear a building this quickly. They're like, yeah, we just need it to happen quicker. So we're like borderline sprinting through this lobby with our guns up, and Linda Hamilton's character comes up behind us, and me and my buddy Levi were at the back of the line for this shot. So every time they called cut, Sarah Connor Linda Hamilton would be, I was pretty excited, would be like right in front of us. So we did this shot like 30 times. We did it a lot. I don't know what they were looking for, but it took 30 takes to get it. On one of the shots, they call cut, and Hamilton, she stops a little later, and as me and Levi turn around, she kind of like runs into us. She like puts her hand on both of our chests. She's like, "Hey boys, how you doing?" And Levi, who's, you know, he's a fun guy, he's like, "Oh, I'm doing good." Me, I was like, I got to make a joke. I was like, oh, I don't know. My head's kind of spinning. I feel like my whole world's upside down. And she got a massive kick out of that. I was like, yes. So that we said a couple more jokes about the show. And yeah, she was super nice. Also pretty short. She's like, probably like 5'5", but like such a vivacious personality. She's someone who, like, I kind of believe she's probably a cool person in real life, actually, if I had to bet. So yeah, she was super cool. And then we did a couple more shots. Just shooting B-roll. Like there are scenes that you would get with like back in the old days, you'd have an A camera, which is like the main one, and then you'd have a B camera, which is like for like pickup shots or unimportant stuff. So if you're getting like a shot of this water bottle and it didn't need famous Ish Lopez in it, that would be something for the B team to get, where they would shoot the B camera, and the film that would come out of that camera, there's just a bunch of random unimportant stuff. It would be the roll of film from the B camera. That's why they call it B-roll. So we were shooting B-roll shots of the soldiers just clearing rooms throughout the lab. And, excuse me. So none of them are like in the script, but there's one shot in particular that, like, my director's instinct, I'm like, all right, this shot's going to make the shot. So if you watch the show when it comes out, when you see that part, I don't know, it's later in the season, but when you see like this sweet looking Italian soldier coming up the steps with an M16. He's got a sweet mustache. That's me. I'm like front at the, I think I'm like second in line, and I do like a sweet sweep and clear. I asked the question. I was like, hey, can I be in like an up ready instead of a down ready, since they're going upstairs? Like, oh yeah, that looks pretty good. And then I saw them watching the playback, and the director, like, they looked at me, looked at each other, and like, yeah. So I was like, all right, I think that one's gonna make it in. So
I'll be looking for it.
Yeah, look for it.
It's a show I watch anyway. So
it's a show, everybody.
My kid loves it, so I'm gonna be like, I know that guy.
Hopefully this show gets big enough that they will try to sue me for your sake, just because that means a lot of people are watching. Yeah. But I haven't said the name. I haven't given away anything that would gone through a sue yet. So. Yeah.
This is the way I look at it. It's promotion. It's
no such thing as bad publicity.
If you can figure out the show with the bleeping and all,
yeah,
you win. Yeah. Sue me, you get three cameras and 2 mics.
And if someone else figures it out, I didn't say it. So, yeah, very vague.
Whatever.
Yeah,
whatever.
But yeah, I mean, as far as like behind the scenes stuff goes,
that's
cool.
Cool.
That's been a cool one. Yeah, it's funny what you mentioned. Like, even though we have more of an ability to like follow along in the production of films and see behind the scenes, at the same time, what you actually see behind the scenes is kind of getting less and less impressive. Like when they shot the Chronicles of Narnia, I don't know if you've seen the movie, like Lion, the Witch, and the Wardrobe. Very personal film for me. Watched it all the time as a kid. Still love it. I think it still holds up. When Georgie Henley, the girl that plays Lucy Pevensey, when she comes out of the wardrobe and she steps into the woods, she's like, oh, it's so cool. She's looking around. Little kid. They literally built that entire forest she walks around in. They built that in a soundstage. It was like half a football field, massive. Brought in all the snow, made all those trees, all special effects. No green screening, no CGI. There was matte painting behind the trees. So everything you see is 100% real. And the director literally, to get her to set, when she got there, they blindfolded the girl, the actress, Georgie Henley. They blindfolded her because she's only like 8 years old. And they like walked her into her position and they told her told her to close her eyes, took the blindfold off so that the first time she's captured seeing Narnia, like with her own eyes, it's her genuine like child's reaction to, oh my God, there's actually a world behind this wardrobe. And it's like when you see her open her eyes and look around, like that's a real kid having a real moment of magic, like in a real magical forest in the back of a wardrobe. But we don't see, well, not never. So rarely do you see anything like that nowadays. Because nowadays it's like, all right, you're going to act. This is all going to be a green screen. You just follow this tennis ball with your eyes, and then we're going to do all the cool stuff in post.
Yeah,
and that's like not that fun to watch behind the scenes.
Not to knock Marvel because I love Marvel. Yeah. It was one of the scenes they were on a bridge and they were jumping over like the bridge was collapsing. I forget. I think it was Tom Holland.
Okay, yeah. I know what you're talking about.
I'm watching the scene and I'm like, dude, that's so dope. Like, I understand this might be CGI, but like, this is so cool. This is so. And I watched it behind the scenes. It was all green and he was jumping on boxes. Yeah. Like green boxes.
I think I've seen that clip.
And I'm sitting there and I'm like.
And his suit's not real. He's wearing like one of those gray triangle suits. Yeah.
And I'm like, oh.
It kind of just takes the fun out of it. You know?
But I loving the behind the scenes, value it a lot because I'm like, dude, if you watch him in the movie, he's great. He's amazing.
Yeah, yeah.
And he's doing this in a green room.
Yeah, you definitely respect the actors more.
Wow. Mm-hmm. To do that in a green room, how do you captivate his like sense of panic and like sheer will? Yeah. And it's like he's jumping on green boxes. Nothing is exploding. I think there was one scene where a car is like exploding in the background and they had the car and the explosion, but it's all in a green room. And I was like, man, like to do that as an actor is still very impressive.
It's a different kind of impressive. Yeah, for sure. And yeah, you got to respect actors, but still it's like, why do people love the Mission Impossible movies? Because when you see Tom Cruise climbing the Burj Khalifa or jumping out of a plane doing a full halo jump.
So I've seen those behind the scenes.
And you're like, oh my God, he actually did that. That's what's incredible. That's why people love those movies is because you're like, it's more than just a movie. Like you go into a movie expecting to be lied to, expecting like, oh, that's just a movie. That could never happen in real life. But you watch Tom Cruise jumping out of an airplane or climbing the Burj Khalifa or holding his breath for 6.5 minutes, or I forget what was the stunt, or riding a motorcycle off of a mountain
6 times
into a parachute. You're like, wait, that's so much more impressive because that actually happened. That's real in a way that movies rarely are real. That's my whole philosophy now doing Faceless Land is when you see that explosion, like that's real. That's that much more impressive because that actually happened. We actually did that. When you're watching his reaction to that and him being frazzled, that's because there's an actual shockwave that just rippled through the forest out of nowhere. When you're seeing bullets that hit trees, those are actual rounds being fired into the woods, actual chipping actual bark off the trees. They're like, you can feel, I call it like a sense of visceral, or I call it, what's the proper noun of visceral? Viscerality? Viscera? Sure.
English is my second language.
That's true. Yeah. Oh, you're doing great for that. Could have fooled me. There's a visceral sense to it of like, oh my God, you can feel the reality coming through the screen. And that's just like, I don't think you get that as much. I think films are starting to look too polished because they have the ability to make everything so clean.
For the
and so
Fast
perfect.
and the Furious films, what they've gotten to now. Back in the day, they were racing cars.
Yeah.
And today, Toretto's pushing a car in midair. And I'm like, come on. Like
there's less weight to them. Like,
yeah.
They feel emptier. They feel more hollow.
Yeah. But like that, the perfect example of Tom Cruise with his halo jump. They had a video they posted where it was the actual shot and then someone filming the shot being shot, if that makes sense.
Yeah, like a camera guy behind the actual camera guy.
Yeah, and you were watching the camera guy's even jumping. He's following and someone's tracking him, and then the camera guy falls out of the plane backwards as Tom Cruise
does he have like how's he holding the camera?
So he has a headshot and then he's holding a camera.
So he's holding a camera on his chest, and he's got like a massive GoPro kind of thing.
GoPro, which if you jump, you know how dangerous that is because your chute can get caught in all that stuff.
Oh yeah.
And people that's why as a Class A jumper, you can't have a camera because when you're mounted, it gets wrapped, and you don't have enough experience to be able to deal with that. You know, so like he's got this rig and he's got a chest, and then there's a camera guy filming the camera guy who's also jumping. So like you're sitting there, you're like, how much work did this shot take?
Yeah. And
not only that, Tom Cruise has this special face helmet that was designed, and like the director was like, hey, we can't see his face, we can't see his expression. Oh, wow. So they made like little lights in this special helmet that he's wearing for the jump, and it's just so cool to see him like just disappear. And then I'm like, dude, that he really did that.
Great example of like directing philosophy. Most directors, they try to say, okay, what's the easiest way we can do this? Christopher McQuarrie is the guy who's directed the last 4 or 5 if you're counting the one that's coming out. Everything from Mission Impossible 4 onward is directed by Christopher McQuarrie. Number 1, I think, was Doug Liman. John Woo directed number 2. J.J. Abrams directed number 3. They didn't. That's why the first Mission Impossible movies, they all feel kind of different. But after 4, they're like, okay, yeah, this is our director. And McQuarrie's got one of my favorite quotes on filmmaking. He says, most people, they try to create excitement with filmmaking. Like, fast cuts, edits, super shaky camera. He's like, we try to create excitement and then capture it with filmmaking, which is exactly what you're talking about. If they did something exciting and then all they had to do was just stick a camera there, and it was just like mind-blowing. Whereas, how many special effects artists and, compositors and editors and VFX people had to come together to make an actor staring at a tennis ball look like it's exciting. Like, this is just different philosophies. And some people like the latter. I personally I kind of want to know that something cool is really happening. Like, I don't want my whole life to be fake.
It's like the Planet of the Apes when they're talking and they're petting or interacting with this ape, and it's a guy wearing a helmet with all the dots, and like you're petting this or the raccoon on I don't know, he doesn't go by raccoon, but in
Rocket.
Rocket. Yeah, he does like to be called a raccoon, but you're interacting with like a person or an item, and he's like has his hand on his shoulder, and it's not the raccoon, it's like this thing with dots, and you're like, that's so funny to me.
It's strange.
As an actor, like you have to do that. It's cool. It's cool, but
you gotta have a bit of a sense of humor.
So being in this, what are some of the lower budget action movies you mentioned earlier? You have this recommendation list.
Oh yeah. Let me grab my phone real quick.
Yeah, what's because I think it's cool. Like, we all see the big box office movies. Yeah. We're all, we watch the what do they call them?
Blockbuster temples?
The highlights or the trailer. We watch the trailer.
Oh, yeah.
Like with these lower budget movies, you kind of have to find them.
Yeah, so even like some of them have, and again, in Hollywood, $10 million is considered low budget. In fact, that might actually be considered micro budget, which is wild. Like the level below low budget. So yeah, what I wanted to find was I want to find 10 great action movies just that people haven't seen, just that most people haven't seen, that are like hidden gems out there that will give you just something new to watch that you can, okay, this is not only a great action movie, it's a great movie by itself. So I got a list here. They're kind of ranked in the order of like how likely you are to have seen them. So the first one is Fury. People have probably seen this movie. You seen Fury?
I have not.
Okay, so Fury, World War II tank movie. Great cast, Brad Pitt, Shia LaBeouf, John Bernthal, the guy from Ant-Man who gives the funny story. I always forget his name. Michael Pena, I think, and Logan Lerman. I kind of slept on this movie. Like, I heard it looked cool, but I never watched it. And then I watched it with my dad, and holy shit, this movie is not only like incredibly shot, the production value is incredible. It's so like emotional in that like raw guy emotion kind of way that you feel with like duty and sacrifice and just blowing the shit out of a bunch of Germans and like the epic. It's got the most epic last stand moment in any movie I've ever seen. That movie is amazing. And like I remember my dad and I were watching it, not really knowing what we were getting into. We were watching this movie, and then my mom and our 3 sisters came home. This is a while ago, and we're watching this movie. And they started talking, and they were talking like louder and louder. And then at one point, both of us at the same time, we just went like, "Shut up!" And, like, I live this movie. We were so emotionally engrossed in this movie. So yeah, the greatest World War II movie that just for some reason nobody saw, even though it had like such a star-studded cast. Fury, directed by David Ayer. Ayer, I think he does a lot of. Was he a former? I think he might have been a former police officer himself, because he also made that movie End of Watch.
So End of Watch was like a very, very low budget movie, I found out.
Yeah.
And to watch I watched a movie, dude, I was like,
I bet you were riveted.
Mind blown. Like, just like, wow. And then you find out what it took to make that movie, how it came to be, and I just appreciated it so much more.
Yeah.
Definitely slept on movie.
Yeah, not a lot of people see it.
Such an amazing movie.
So
Great story.
Same writer-director, David Ayer.
That makes sense.
He made Fury. You haven't seen Fury. It's incredible.
I was actually thinking of End of Watch as one of these movies.
Yeah, I was thinking, like, do I do End of Watch or I do Fury? But I think like Fury's a great like intro into this, because it's still like, that's a big budget movie. It's not like an indie or anything, but like it's just such a great one. End of Watch also definitely worth a watch as well. But yeah, Fury's incredible. The next one, another big budget movie that like just really super quality movie. I think more people have seen it now, especially now that Yellowstone's come out. Of Sicario.
I've seen highlights. I haven't watched it either.
Sicario, another one, definitely very worth a watch. It's like, it has in the writing, not only is it like expertly shot, it's the, Roger Deakins, one of the greatest cinematographers of all time. He shot the movie, directed by Sam Mendes. I believe it's Sam Mendes, who made like some of the greatest Bond films. Great writer-director combo. And the writer, Taylor Sheridan, who's the guy who created Yellowstone, that movie has a level of authority in the writing and the script that most action movies do not have. Like, it's about like a kind of a more or less naive FBI agent joining a task force that's kind of goes in to try to do battle against the cartels with a lot of like more aggressive tactics. And it's an excellently written movie. It's Benicio del Toro has a sweet role. He's this awesome character. Emily Blunt's great in it. It's got great like realistic action. And at the end of the movie, it's just kind of one of those chilling, like, oh wow. It's one of those, this is how it is, kind of like, this is the reality, but they still make it really entertaining. So yeah, Sicario, that's like I think it's an Oscar nominated movie actually. Like, it's another one that just a lot of people have heard of, seen highlights of. You've probably seen like the highway scene where they're coming back across the border. Yeah, that's a famous scene from it. Sicario, definitely worth a watch. But now, getting number 2, 3, 4 on the list, we start getting to the ones that are like lower. I think these are mostly indie movies from here on out, if not all of them. So number 3, this came out recently, Monkey Man. Monkey Man with Dev Patel, guy from like Slumdog Millionaire. Turns out this guy who made Slumdog Millionaire, the guy, I think he's in Life of Pi. He made a movie called, he's made all these kind of like softer, more emotional, like indie family stories that you kind of thought he was just like the soapy actor guy. You definitely know who he is. Turns out this guy's like a closet action movie fan his whole life. He's watched probably a lot of the movies on this list, and he wanted to make his own action movie. And so like during COVID, I think he makes Monkey Man, which is this story about like an Indian, it's like a Indian guy trying to become a fighter so he can learn how to take revenge on the corporation and the corrupt guru that like burned his village down for profit or something. And the fight choreography is amazing. It's shot, it's like visually so poetic. You could tell this is a guy who like has watched great lower level action movies his whole life. And like, this is his entry into the canon. Like, it's going to go down as one of the classics in the like really quality action movie genres. Most recent one on this list, Monkey Man, great martial arts in it. It's just everything you want from an action movie, and it's beautiful to watch. So number 3, Monkey Man, highly recommend. I got 10. Number 4, if you like the movie Bullet Train.
Yeah.
So if you like Bullet Train, you will love Boss Level on Hulu. It's a Hulu original starring Frank Grillo. It's like a Groundhog Day type movie where this like ex-Delta Force guy is reliving the same day over and over again, where all these assassins are trying to kill him for no reason. And he's like trying to find out, he's got to find out why, he's got to find out how to like save his family. Nothing like too revolutionary happens. It's just a very well done movie. I enjoyed it more than I thought I was going to do. Mel Gibson's in the film. He plays a great villain. Just like a fun movie that's kind of got some heart to it. A lot of fun things. They definitely know what kind of movie it was. A lot of great characters like Bullet Train. And yeah, so Boss Level, number 4. It's a fun one. Number 5. This is probably my favorite on this list. Desperado. You ever heard of Desperado?
No.
All right, so you know Antonio Banderas?
Of course I do.
Yeah.
Of course I do.
Of course I do. Yeah. He makes me want to be
Antonio Banderas.
Oh, you like, I swear to God, you just transformed into him when you said that. And then you like a deep fake just kicked on.
Dude, he's one of those classic actors that like any movie he's in, I'll watch. This is one I have to watch.
This is his epic movie. This is the El Mariachi trilogy from Robert Rodriguez, one of the all-time great like no budget indie filmmakers. Desperado is the second one. You don't need to watch the first one. It's like not really related, but dude, I watched Desperado and it blew me away. It's such a great shot movie. It's so well directed. The action is there, the intensity. It's Antonio Banderas and like young Salma Hayek when she was just at her absolute most stunning. The action is so fun. There's this like Spanish romance to it all. It's so well shot.
Of course it does.
Of course it does. Yeah. It's so much of that, like the whispering. There's all these epic shootouts and like diving with bullets. It's like late 90s action at its utmost best. Had I seen that before I made Beyond the Lake, I would have stopped what I was doing. I was like, guys, we're going to take the script for Beyond the Lake. We're going to make it an action movie just like Desperado.
And I got a guy.
Yeah. You would have starred in that movie.
Do you love my eyes?
Oh my God, Desperado is incredible. I was kicking myself when I saw it because I was like, how did I not find this earlier?
It's never too late.
It's never too late. And that's why I'm here, to deliver to you, the viewers, 10 movies that you should have seen by now that are great in the action genre. So Desperado, super fun movie. Number 6 got one called Upgrade. This is a really cool movie. A great example of when a director uses the medium of film to do something that you couldn't do any other way. So Upgrade is about this guy who, like, he and his wife are attacked in a hit and run. He's left paralyzed, and he gets this new, like, experimental kind of chip in his spine that, like, gives him movement again. And he uses, like, and it kind of makes him, like, really powerful. And he uses it. He's got this, like, AI assistant basically in his spine that when he gives it permission can, like, take over for him.
Oh.
And he uses it basically to become like a human weapon to find the people who killed his wife. Really cool movie. I don't want to talk too much about it because I don't want to spoil it, but if you like sci-fi action, this is a great movie. There's some really they do cool things with the camera, the way they film the fights, and they make you feel as an audience member like you would feel if you had like somebody suddenly take over you and start fighting like a robot would. Yeah, Upgrade, really cool. Another one, another like lower budget movie that just looks really great and is really cool. So Upgrade's cool. Number 7, if you're like maybe drunk with some friends and you want just a movie that's an excellent movie that you don't take very seriously but is still really well done. The name says it all with this one. Abraham Lincoln Vampire Hunter. I watched this movie the last time I visited my family. I think it was 2 a.m. I couldn't sleep. I'm like, all right, let's find some time to kill. I pull up Hulu. I'm like, all right, Abraham Lincoln Vampire. This will put me right to sleep, I'm sure. No. I had a smile across my face from ear to ear whole time I was watching this movie because it's obviously the plot is outrageous. It's like the whole motivation for everything Abraham Lincoln ever did, from being a congressman to becoming president to win the Civil War, was all to like eliminate this deeply ingrained society of vampires that had taken over the Deep South and were responsible for the slave trade. And like he spends his days like being an Illinois congressman and his nights training and hunting vampires and fighting them with a silver axe. And it's so much fun. The fight choreography is incredible. The director's vision is so great. It's got all these actors who like before they were famous, like Anthony Mackie has a sweet role in there. Jimmy Tivish is in there. I forget the main guy's name. But yeah, just like everyone's taking it so seriously and it just works. Like it's so much fun. It's such a movie just to be like fist pump moment all the time. It's one of my favorites on here, honestly. Abraham Lincoln Vampire Hunter. Very, very fun. Haven't seen it. It's a great ride. It's a great time. Somebody on like IMDb was like, dude, this movie sucks. It's so unrealistic. I'm like, bro, if you opened up a movie called Abraham Lincoln Vampire Hunter expecting a realistic movie, that's on you.
Yeah,
that's your fault.
It's just wrong crowd. Wrong crowd.
Yeah, like what did you expect? That's on you. So that's number 7. 3 more. We're gonna get into a little bit of foreign action films here. I'm gonna switch number 8 and number 9. Number 8 is the best action movie on this list. It's one of the best action movies of all time. When Dev Patel made Monkey Man, he referenced this movie more than any other. even a lot of American IP, everything from like CW shows like The Green Arrow to
which
bigger.
I love.
Yeah, Green Arrow was great. I would watch that show and I would see when they referenced The Raid in the fight choreography, like, oh, they pulled that from The Raid. The Raid Redemption, or just called The Raid, 2008 maybe, directed by Garth Evans. It's about this like elite SWAT team in Indonesia that has to go take out this drug lord at the top of like a 30-story apartment complex, but someone sells them out. The team gets locked in, and it's 30 floors of like drugged out gang members that all want to take him down, and like most of the team gets killed right away. And this is one kind of cop, one like Indonesian SWAT guy who's got to fight his way up all 30 floors to like unlock the door that's at the very top, get this drug lord out. Best fight choreography of all time. This is, and in fact, if you like Filipino martial arts like Kali, Eskrima, Pencak Silat, Pancration even, this movie made that stuff famous. Like, this is the greatest example of the Filipino martial arts you will ever see in film. So if you ever done like any kind of knife work, any gun disarms, any stick work, that's all FMA, Filipino stuff. It all comes from right here. It doesn't come from this movie, but this movie is like the ultimate showcase for it. Yeah, The Raid is sweet. When I choreograph anything, like whether it's a sword fight, a fist fight, that jiu-jitsu fight, I watch The Raid to like get my brain warmed up and in the fight choreography mode. Like, that's how good this movie is as an action movie, as a movie. Yeah, definitely the best one on this list for sure. Two more. One, if you're feeling fancy one night and you're like, you know what, we need to watch a French movie. French cinema is a lot.
J'ai pas français un peu.
Oh, look, he does that too. Damn it. One more thing. He's just too awesome, this guy. Too awesome.
Put me in a movie.
So if you're feeling fancy but you still want some cool action, The Emperor of Paris. More recent movie, I think 2018. It's got Vincent Cassel, France's Antonio Banderas. It's basically the story of the guy who would go on to found like the French Secret Service. He was like a convict, a masterful escape artist. This movie is basically if Les Miserables was an action movie. And it's so cool because you have all the kind of formulaic plot structure of a standard action piece with like the super cool and avant-garde way that the French make movies, and like the way they shoot it and the way the sound is designed and what the camera does during fights. Such a breath of fresh air, but like it's recognizable enough. Has one of my favorite sword fights in any movie ever. Emperor of Paris is a great one. And then number 10, older one, the 2012 Dredd. Like, remember Stallone did that movie Judge Dredd?
Yeah.
So they did it again with Carl Urban in 2012. Not a lot of people saw the movie, but it is really, really good. Like, it's what that movie should have been. Carl Urban kills it as the character. It's one of those just like kind of super stoic, seemingly invincible human movies of a guy that takes a lot of punishment and dishes a lot out. Similar to The Raid in the structure of it. Yeah, Judge Dredd, very cool visually. Got really cool action, sweet performance by Carl Urban, some cool monologues. Yeah, those are 10 of the best action movies that you haven't seen.
Well, I appreciate you for sharing those, because I'm not a big movie guy unless it's in theaters.
Right.
But like sometimes I'll be sitting and I'll be like, I want to throw on a movie, and I never have one. I'll spend more time looking for one than actually finding one.
Yeah,
so
these have all kind of stood the test of time.
having this list is good.
Mm-hmm.
How hard is it for you to watch a movie having that behind the scenes knowledge, or is it actually easier and more? It makes you appreciate it more.
Both. You notice a bad movie more, but you also appreciate a good movie more. Like when I see something done poorly or that I think just isn't working, I usually know whether it's a story thing, a writing thing, a cinematography thing, a directed thing, an editing thing. I notice it and I know what it is. Like if a movie is edited poorly, like I see that and I know why I don't like it. So like there's that element of some people are like, I don't really like this, but maybe it'll get better. Some things I notice, I'm like, okay, if this is the same editor throughout the whole movie, I doubt it's going to get better because I know his style now. I know this movie's not going to get better. So that's bad. But when I see somebody do something really good or really creative, I know why it's creative and I see the craft there and I'm like, that's so cool. Like in the movie Arrival, there's this thing in editing rule called the 180-degree rule or the 180-degree rule, which basically states if you have two characters talking, there's like 360 degrees around us. And we have this line right here. And when you're editing back and forth in this conversation, you never want the camera, no matter where you put it, it has to stay within the same 180-degree radius on one side of us. Basically, like if this is our line, anywhere the camera cuts cannot cross this line. Like if I'm filming you from over here, I cannot film me from over here because then we're both going to be looking screen right and it doesn't, like, it's confusing. Like, wait, who are they talking to? That's why you've got your setup here. You got.
I learned that.
Here, yeah. So
I
that's
learned
one of
that.
the first
That's so
things
funny.
most people learn, and you don't. It's not done right all the time. Even I accidentally broke the rule a couple of times. But in the movie Arrival, which is a big Denis Villeneuve movie, Jeremy Renner, Amy Adams, big movie, big sci-fi, huge acclaim. There's a moment where the editor, it's like this kind of surreal sequence where you're not really sure if it's a dream, and the editor purposely breaks the 180-degree rule. And it's so jarring and it's so offsetting and uncomfortable, but that's what they want you to feel right there. You're like, ew, this isn't natural. This must be a dream. And then it's like, yeah, they break the line right as they cut to this big alien that's in the room that's not actually there. It's like that was an example of breaking a rule, but using that to heighten the effect they were going for. So when I saw that, I was like, oh, that's so cool. They just actually broke the 180-degree rule for effect. Like I noticed stuff like that too. So yeah, good movies get better. Bad movies get worse when you know kind of what you're looking at.
That's interesting because when I first started this, we mentioned I was like traveling and setting up on the go. And I had started with GoPros.
Oh, wow.
And I would have one here and then have one there. And in editing and watching it back, I did notice a sense of like something doesn't feel right.
Yeah.
And it's a simple thing. It's a conversation. There's no action happening here. There's none of that, nothing crazy. Something felt off. And it wasn't until I started researching and I was like, oh, this 180-degree rule, you want the main, boom, boom.
Right.
That way it seems like a seamless conversation.
And isn't it crazy, like what you said, you felt it even though you couldn't articulate it? And I think a lot of people who just watch, who aren't like filmmakers, when they're watching a bad movie, they feel it, but they can't articulate why. They're like, oh, maybe it's just me. Maybe I don't get that. And I think a lot of bad artists, they kind of prey on that, where they'll make a movie that's just objectively bad. And they'll be like, no, you don't see what I'm trying to do here. You're not a sophisticated enough film viewer. Like, you don't know enough about film to appreciate this movie. It's like, or they actually, or you know too much, or you don't know things right. Because, like, chances are if you're not enjoying something, it might not be that good.
Yeah, even as a filmmaker.
Yeah.
You set yourself apart by being able to touch these unskilled viewers.
That's
like
what you're trying to do. Like for example, we watched the movie Brokeback Mountain in film school, which is, for those who don't know, it's about two gay cowboys. I am a straight, white, moderately conservative Christian male. I'm about as far from the target audience for that movie as it gets. That movie is incredible. Like, even though I didn't relate to it, I could recognize the genius and the craft that went into making it and like how they were doing what they're doing. I'm like, man, that is a really well-made movie. It wasn't for me, but I still enjoyed it in the sense of like, yeah, it was really cool to see how they made that and how they worked the characters together. Like, there was a girl, a lesbian girl I went to school with, who she's like, yeah, I hate Titanic. I'm like, why? She's like, well, I don't like heterosexual relationships. I don't relate to that movie. And I'm thinking like, okay, but
it's a good movie.
Yeah, it's still there's a lot more to that movie than just the love between the two characters.
And no matter what anyone says, he could have fit on that door.
Okay, so no.
He could have fit. I've watched the behind the scenes. They laid out the door. He could have fit on the door. He could still be here with us.
I'm gonna wreck your bubble.
Don't do
here.
it. So part of the movie magic is what we don't know. Now I just take everything I said away.
They tested this on Mythbusters. They did an episode of Mythbusters.
That's legit then, because
where they found out like exactly what that door would have been from the specs of the Titanic. They got two people who were about the size of Jack and Rose, and they went out into a lake, a cold lake, so that like the viscosity of the water and the density would have matched. And they tried to get them both to fit on the raft, and they couldn't get up on it without it capsizing. But even when they were lowered both on it, it just pushed it down into the water until they slid off. So according to Mythbusters,
all right, for all you Titanic haters, he wouldn't have fit then.
Sorry.
He wouldn't have fit.
But interestingly enough, though, Jack could have done something else to survive. And this is a true story. He could have gotten shit-faced in the water. There was a guy who survived Titanic. He was a baker on the Titanic. And this is a true story. Actually, in fact, you see him in the movie. You see when Rose is like up on the rail as the ship's going straight down. She looks over. There's this guy who like looks at her, and then he takes a swig from a flask. That guy's name was something like George G something. I forget what it was. But basically, this guy was a baker. And he's like, well, I'm about to die. I'm, in the words of Leonardo DiCaprio, I will not die sober. Yeah. He just got absolutely hammered with all the finest scotch and whiskey and bourbon that was on the ship. And basically, I forget I had the science, but like, it was like the alcohol slowed his blood flow or sped it up to the fact that like his blood wasn't able to congeal. Or maybe it thinned his blood. Is that how? I don't drink a lot.
Yeah.
Yeah. It thinned his blood to the point where there was so much alcohol in it that it couldn't freeze. Because like hypothermia, it makes your blood coagulate and then your heart stops. But the alcohol in his system kept his blood so thin, and there was so much alcohol content that the alcohol couldn't freeze. So he actually survived in the water, just like Jack did. He was in the water the whole time. And when they found him, he was still alive because he was so wasted, he wasn't able to contract hypothermia. So
there you go.
if Jack had just knocked a few back before he went into the water.
So before I cold plunge, I should get wasted.
That's right. Yes.
That's what I'm picking up on.
That's right, yeah.
No, it makes sense because when your body's in survival mode, all the blood rushes to the core to preserve your body for as long as possible.
Yeah.
Well, if it's not doing that and it's still circulating and stuff,
and I probably don't have the science exactly right, but if you look it up, it's a
get wasted.
It's a real that's the moral of the story.
In case you find yourself frozen. Okay? That's why when you're downtown.
This episode is brought to you by Jameson.
When you're downtown in the winter, you see the people in t-shirts and less clothes because they're wasted. They're not cold.
Thought about that. I never thought about that.
You know, like I can see the signs. I can't explain it, but I see it. No, I'm learning all kinds of stuff today. No, dude, I appreciate that. And in similar fashion, I would love to end it how you did last time. You had this thorough, amazing poem.
Oh yeah.
Do you have something for the listeners this time?
I do. I've been debating which one I should share.
Ooh, we have choices.
I have two. So there's the one that I mentioned a piece of it last time, is the Good Timber. I said a piece of it. There's that one. I'm feeling that's from my. If I listen to my heart, that's what it's saying. So I'm gonna go with Good Timber. I don't have this one memorized yet. That's so embarrassing.
Yeah, last time you just went. I was like, dang.
I'm close on this one. I got to listen to it a bunch of times. Okay. So this poem is called Good Timber. Because we were talking about how earlier today, as well as last year, people that never really have to struggle in life, they never seem to accomplish much, or they become kind of like a sour person. And how there's something about, having to push against something, having to work and struggle and fight that almost makes you more capable and stronger. And so this is what that poem is about. The tree that never had to fight for sun and sky and air and light, but stood out in the open plain and always got its share of rain, never became a forest king, but lived and died a scrubby thing. The man who never had to toil to gain and farm his patch of soil, who never had to win his share of sun and sky and light and air, never became a manly man, but lived and died as he began. Good timber does not grow with ease. The stronger wind, the stronger trees. The further sky, the greater length. The more the storm, the more the strength. By sun and cold, by rain and snow, in trees and men, good timbers grow. Where thickest lies the forest growth, we find the patriarchs of both, and they hold counsel with the stars, whose broken branches show the scars of many winds and much of strife. This is the common law of life.
And it's so damn true.
Yeah.
There was a study where they grew trees in this dome out of the elements, and those trees were shown not to be as strong and resilient as the trees growing out in the wild.
That's crazy.
And it makes you wonder, like, we as people, if we're not going through adversity, we're not going through learning moments, how are we supposed to be strong?
Yeah.
Right? Like, how do you grow patience if you're not being tested with your patience? How do you go strong in the gym if you're not undergoing heavy resistance? How do we grow and build if we're not being constantly tested in schools?
Yeah.
How do we get smarter? We're tested. Our brains are tested.
I think about that a lot because I remember I'd always prayed like, God, make me a better filmmaker, make me a better storyteller. And sometimes I wonder if like the most dark night of the souls that I've gone through, things that have challenged my faith and left me kind of a lot colder than I think a good Christian should be. you know, when I feel like farthest from God because of like what I've sacrificed and what I've lost and all the shit that comes at you. Sometimes I'm wondering, like, is this God answering my prayer? Is he giving me the stuff I need to, you know, the suffering that I need to refine the gold, to refine the diamond into the coal into a diamond? Is all the things that, you know, are driving me further from God on a daily basis sometimes, is that him granting the prayer that I said? Because that struggle, that challenge, like that's what people need to see, and that's what, you know, that's going to connect people to my stories. So it's one of those things that it's one of those just like open conflicts that I don't think I'll ever resolve, that fuels a lot of what I do as a creative.
Well, I would say yes, because we ask for strength or patience, and then our world seems to like, why am I constantly being tested? Mm-hmm. It's like, this is what you asked for. This is the process. We want the result without the process. Like, gym is a perfect example. I want to get big and strong and have juicy muscles. I'm going to blast test. Okay. If you're not lifting heavy, if you're trying to take the shortcut, you're not lifting heavy, you're not eating right, you're not waking up early to make this a priority, you're not going through that horrible process, the test ain't going to do nothing for you. You're going to get bloated, retain water. You're not going to have the muscles you want because you're not trying to go through the process. We ask for God for something, and then we try to go about it our way. But here's what I'll tell people. Here's the beautiful thing. God, being as great as he is, has already factored in our stupidity.
I like that.
Think about that.
Yeah.
We're a certain way. We're human. We'll make mistakes. His plan factors in our stupidity. So we're going to hit roadblocks. We're going to hit stumbling block. It may not look seamless, but that is the beauty of what we have asked for. You know, I've recently asked for something and I said, hey, I am a coward. I cannot do this on my own. Make it easy for me, and whatever comes from this, I'll deal with.
I prayed a similar prayer recently.
You got it.
I said, God, show me the way or get out of my way. But I feel like it got me in a holding pattern right now, and I don't want that anymore.
So just trust the process. Trust the process. Whether you believe in God, a higher power, whatever it is, the universe, if you want something, you're going to get it. It's not going to come easy because nothing worth it is easy. You can't sit on the pedestal without the battles and the wars that got you there. Yeah. Because sitting on a pedestal without that, you're empty and you're nothing.
A knight in shining armor is a man who has never had his metal tested.
Exactly. We see it in movies, we see it in books and poems, and every creative facet, we see the end result. And then when we peel back the layers and go, how did this happen? A lot of hard work. Yeah. A lot of grit. A lot of sucking. A lot of, why am I doing this? Why is this happening to me?
So much of that too that like you kind of just almost forget it. Like it becomes normal. Like I think that's a good kind of factor for when maybe you're, and I don't know this, but I suspect that people only become massively successful once they've forgotten that this sucks. It's just kind of life for them. It's almost normal. And they're like, oh, some success happened. I wonder. I feel like you probably get to a point where you yourself are like, wait, how did this happen? Because the work and the sacrifice just becomes so habitual.
If you lean into the process, the success will come, or whatever it is you're looking for, right? And that it layers onto the conversations we've had. You want something, it requires work. Yeah, you can't complain about the results you didn't get if you didn't do the work that's required to get it.
Yeah, and maybe one with this too. It's not a longer quote, but one of my favorite Jordan Peterson quotes is I got to hear him speak in Atlanta live. That was really cool because I got some stuff. And he said this concept. He said, that which you most need to, like wherever you're trying to get to, that which you most need to find will be found where you least want to look. And I thought that it made me think about that a lot because I think in order to become, whether it's successful or a whole person, the thing that's holding you back is the thing that you have consciously or unconsciously avoided the whole time. And it made me think, okay, what is the thing where do I least want to look? Where am I least comfortable growing? And for me, ironically, the thing was, I'm very comfortable grinding and sacrificing and embracing the suck and doing all that stuff. The thing that I was uncomfortable with, the thing that I didn't want to look at was working smarter, not harder. And like you said, enjoying not just trusting the process, but enjoying the process and living a life that I could be proud of and I could be, fulfilled by, even if the success never came. I was worried that if I stopped grinding for a minute and like did something, I would like lose my fire or anything like that. But no, the thing that I most needed to find was how to embrace like working smarter, not harder, or just letting it happen. And so that's been my growth area, has been actually not working less, but working better. Yeah. And part of better is doing it in a way that's not going to burn me out, because a burnt out artist or burnt out anybody is useless.
It's like a fire. How do you fuel a fire? Wood.
Yeah.
If you just inundate a fire with wood, it's gonna smother it. If you put the wood there and you sit and you wait and you watch what you have done,
Constantly
let it
blow
come.
on it. Yeah.
Let it come. Let the oxygen get. The fire starts to build and build and build and build. We have people have.
And you got to structure the fire to allow for that to happen.
Yes.
Yeah, that's something that's a great metaphor, because if you don't set the fire up the right way, no oxygen's ever going to get there. You have to be what's the word I'm looking for? Proactive about building in the room for the fire to breathe. Let it breathe.
Yeah, and that's the whole. We've encompassed this work, this hustle culture, and there's a place for that. Sometimes you have to sit back, let it breathe.
Yeah,
let the fire grow, and continuously fueling the fire smarter and better, rather than just getting all the wood you can and dumping it on. Why isn't my fire burning? Yeah, like let it breathe. Sit back. Let what you have done.
Trust the process.
Yeah, trust the process. Lean into the process.
Yeah.
Oh, fuck yeah, man. Where can after this is like, I like to end with this question.
Yeah.
After this episode is done, people have listened to it. They've heard what you've had to say. The radio's off, whatever they listen to is off. What message would you want people to take? Do you want people to take with them after this episode's done?
There's life out there and it is beautiful. I think too often we see entertainment as something to distract ourselves, or as something to pass the time, or to keep us from the thoughts that are going on up here. The kind of movies I want to make, stories I want to tell, I want to remind people that, there is life out there, and that life is beautiful despite everything else. That awe is, I think, should be the goal of everything we do, is to connect to something beyond us. You have that transcendental experience. So I would just say, look for ways to find out, look for the beauty in the mundane, and look for the beauty in the epic as well. Like, find ways to connect yourself. Give yourself one experience of total awe every week, at least. For people that used to be going to church for a long time, people had that transcendent experience every Sunday. If you don't have that, whether it's watching a really great movie that you just turn off your phone, you sit there and you watch it and you just let it wash over you, whether it's an album you listen to, whether it's a place you go on a hike looking over the mountains, do something that just makes you feel awe for like an hour a day. Hopefully that'll be my movies. Hopefully it'll be stuff that I make of it. I'm working on it now. Yeah, I think that's the best thing you can do for your soul as a person, because awe is the food that the soul craves, and it's the only really one that it can give. And it can be something. I'll leave it there.
Yeah, take a hike.
Take a hike.
When's the last time someone, like, if you don't take hikes, or you don't go out, go walk in a park, see the trees, feel the wind blow.
Yeah.
Like, we overlook these little things, these miracles that happen every day.
Yeah.
That we take for granted. Be conscious of your breathing.
If you can't take a walk, like, watch a movie about it. Watch The Lord of the Rings, where it's the most epic walking movie of all time. Like, watch something like that just connects you to, that sense of awe and wonder and triumph and purpose. Yeah.
Where can people follow you online? Personally, watch your films, follow what you're doing.
Best way to follow me is YouTube, Instagram, TikTok. Mostly Instagram and YouTube, because TikTok is at filming Dom. Filming DOM. Like, I'm Dom and I'm filming stuff. I'm gonna be posting. I post a lot about the films I make. If you like behind the scenes stuff, I post about I'll break down the films I've made and how we shot it. I take you behind the scenes on a bunch of different stuff. I post clips. Post breakdowns, I post, how to recreate a meme with you as like the main character. At Filming Dom, Instagram, YouTube, TikTok. That's where I'll be posting more about Faceless Land, the film that's coming out now. I'll kind of take you a ride for the long of that one. You can watch Beyond the Light again anywhere you watch movies, Amazon Prime, Apple TV, YouTube TV, Google, Tubi, Freevee, United Arab Emirates Airlines.
That's cool.
Yeah, it's pretty cool. It was a nice payout too. yeah, that's where you follow me. And yeah, I'll be down in Atlanta if anyone's down there. Reach out. Actually, I might be. Just got a text. I might be working on a ranch this summer. Like, we came back from the bathroom, someone reached out from one of the places I applied. So, yeah,
ranchero. He's gonna be a ranchero.
I'm going to be a ranchero.
Well, bro, I appreciate you for coming on. I highly advise everyone listening and watching, like, embrace your passions. Like, don't put them on the side. Don't just make them a hobby. Like, pursue them. See where they take you. Like, if you find yourself in a spot like, why am I doing this? What am I doing? Dude, listen to that little voice in your head and follow it. I promise you, if you remain relentless in your journey, you will find success. May not be today, tomorrow, next week, or next year. You will find it if it's something you're truly looking for. I encourage you to watch Beyond the Lake. It's available on Prime, Apple TV, right? Or is that still? It's available on all the things you just mentioned.
Anywhere but Netflix. We're not there yet.
Not there yet, but that's coming soon. But watch it.
Unlock your iPhone first.
Yeah, that's Siri yelling at me. But definitely encourage you to follow Dom, follow what he's doing. It's one of my favorite conversations last time and this time, man. It's always good. And make sure you follow us on Instagram, YouTube. That's where this will be posted. If you want to watch the little short film.
Oh yeah, if you want to watch any, go to my website, filmingdom.com. You can watch the films that I referenced here and tons more. All the behind the scenes content I have up there is on my narrative page. It's a great rabbit hole for behind the scenes geeks like you and I. There's a lot of great stuff on there.
Well, bro, I appreciate you for jumping on. This is the one with Domenic Porcari. Be relentless in your goals always, and we're out. Later.